Chapter 14:19. After saying that, he directly threw out his 10 flying swords. Hei and Wu Mu did not dare to be careless. 2 attacks with enough power to split mountains followed closely behind. Suddenly, Yi Hao's black pupils turned red. He looked at the attacks that were getting closer and smiled ferociously. "All of you will die." Yi Hao moved. His figure was so fast that the 3 people present could only see a vague afterimage. On the ground, a tall mountain suddenly rose into the sky in an attempt to block the incoming flying swords. However, these flying swords contained banished immortals' abundant spirit energy. The 10 flying swords pierced through the mountain and left behind a pile of rubble. However, the 10 flying swords suddenly slowed down. Then, in the direction they were flying, a huge undying bird with flames all over its body opened its eyes. The huge undying bird shook its arms and charged at the flying swords. The flying swords flew into the undying bird's huge shadow. However, after entering the shadow, banished immortal suddenly couldn't feel his connection with the flying swords. He was shocked. The flying swords rampaged through the undying bird's body in an attempt to escape. However, it didn't take long for them to give up and stay on the undying bird's tail. Finally, an arm gently reached out and the flying swords obediently flew into the sleeve. The undying bird didn't dissipate after swallowing the flying swords. Instead, it carried flames that could burn the world and collided with the 2 attacks that followed the flying sword. Bang! The spirit energy collided and a huge blood lotus bloomed in the air. Before the smoke in the air completely dissipated, a fiery red figure flew out from the smoke. Wu Mu's eyes narrowed. When he saw the figure charging at him, he frantically retreated. Unfortunately, in front of the fiery red figure, he was like an ant. He was fast but very slow. Sword light gathered and a fiery red sword shot out. It stabbed into Wu Mu's thigh. "Ah!" Wu Mu cried out in pain. His entire body was nailed to the ground by the huge impact of the flying sword. Yi Hao slowly walked over and pulled out his Wu Dao sword. At this moment, Black One held a war blade and slashed at Yi Hao's head with an oppressive aura. Yi Hao didn't even look and blocked with his sword behind him. When Black One's war blade touched Yi Hao's Wu Dao sword, the biting cold aura disappeared. Black One couldn't help but fly back and break one tree after another. Wu Mu looked at Yi Hao approaching with his Wu Dao sword. For the first time, fear appeared in his eyes. Yi Hao's eyes were cold. Yes, sword, he slapped Wu Mu's face. Wu Mu was sent flying. Banished immortal appeared behind Wu Mu. Just as he was about to save him, Yi Hao stomped down. Banished immortal hurriedly retreated. He didn't dare to take it head-on. Then Yi Hao stomped on Wu Mu's chest, causing a huge hole in the ground. Black One came to Banished Immortal's side and said with an ugly expression, "The secret technique he used must have a time limit. As long as we can stall for time, he'll definitely die." Banished Immortal said worriedly, "With this kid's current strength, the 2 of us aren't his match even if we work together. I'm afraid we'll die miserably before the time limit is over. We have to hold on. This is what young master wants." Okay, I know." While the 2 were talking, Wu Mu was lying at the bottom of the hole. He was on the verge of death. Yi Hao looked at him coldly and said, "It was your great Wu Empire that provoked me first, so today's situation is your own fault. Your biggest mistake was to provoke me." Cough cough. Wu Mu's eyes were empty. He lay on the ground and looked at the sky. Then, his eyes slowly closed and he couldn't open them again. Yi Hao looked at the dead Wu Mu and walked out of the hole. He held his sword and looked coldly at Black One and Banished Immortal. "Yi Hao, it's not too late for you to stop now. As long as you hand over the Wu Dao sword in your hand, we'll write off the grudge between you and Celestial Cloud Pavilion." Black One didn't forget to use Celestial Cloud Pavilion to pressure Yi Hao. Unfortunately, Yi Hao wasn't afraid. He sneered and said, "You were the one who attacked Tianyuan New City, right?" "That's right. I led people to your palace. Unfortunately, you weren't in the palace at that time. Otherwise, you'd be a cold corpse now. Elder Yin and Wang Huan's injuries were also caused by you. They dared to stop me. They overestimated themselves. Very well. Yi Hao was getting angrier and angrier. He said in a deep voice, overestimated yourself. Celestial Cloud Pavilion provoked me first. Now, you want me to hand over the Wu Dao sword. What a bully. So what? This is the way of the world. You're just a third-grade empire. How can you compete with a fifth-grade empire? If this goes on, you'll be seeking your own death sooner or later. Seeking my own death? Then you'd better watch carefully. Yi Hao held his sword with both hands and pressed it down. Black One raised his sword to block it and was forced to retreat a few meters. Yi Hao sneered, the two of you have stalled for so long. How many attacks can you take from me? Arrogant. Extremely arrogant. This was what Black One and Banished Immortal felt. Yi Hao knew that they were stalling for time, but he still cooperated with them. This meant that he didn't take them seriously. However, at this moment the two of them had different thoughts. Black One raised his battle sword and wanted to fight Yi Hao to the death. On the other hand, Banished Immortal was holding back. He looked around from time to time and seemed to be ready to escape. Yi Hao looked at Black One's desperate look and said coldly, "First attack." Then, he stood quietly on the spot and raised his arm. He held the Wu Dao sword in his hand and didn't move until Black One charged in front of him. Black One was furious. Just as he was about to change from stabbing to slashing, he couldn't help but retreat and smash into a big tree behind him. At the same time, the battle sword in his hand flew into the air uncontrollably and stabbed in front of him. Second attack. Yi Hao continued. Then, he held the Wu Dao sword horizontally in his hand and swung it gently. Black One's eyes narrowed. The sword light that seemed to be moving very slowly appeared in front of him in the next second. Black One picked up the battle sword not far away and swung it again and again. Unfortunately, he couldn't stop the sword light at all. He couldn't help but glance at Banished Immortal. He wanted to ask Banished Immortal to come over and help, but he couldn't say it out loud. Banished Immortal took advantage of the moment when he and Yi Hao were fighting to turn into a stream of light and escape into the distance. Yi Hao threw the Wu Dao sword in his hand. The Wu Dao sword turned into a long rainbow and chased after Banished Immortal. After doing all this, Yi Hao seemed a little exhausted. He sat cross-legged on the ground and said weakly, "Third attack." Chapter 1420. The slow sword beam struck Black One and cut the black saber in half along with its master. When Black One fell to the ground, his eyes were still fixed in the direction where Banished Immortal had fled, his eyes full of anger. Before long, Wu Dao's sword turned into a beam of light and returned to Yi Hao's back, stabbing into the ground quietly. The blood on the sword slowly dripped to the ground. At the same time, Yi Hao fainted on the ground because of the side effect of the pill. Not far away, a rush of footsteps was heard. The leader was a strong young man with a longbow and a spear on his back. In a cave not far from the forest, Banished Immortal, who had almost been killed by the sword, leaned against the wall in great pain. He looked at his pierced palm with resentment in his eyes. Just when he thought he had escaped with his life, the Wu Dao sword actually flew straight towards him, so he ran. Who knew that the Wu Dao sword was even faster than him? Seeing that his body was about to be pierced, Banished Immortal stretched out his right hand to block the attack. Just like that, Wu Dao's sword pierced through his entire palm. Fortunately, the sword did not linger for too long and flew straight back. Otherwise, he would have been a cold corpse like Black One. With a twisted face, Banished Immortal clenched his injured right hand and roared like an injured animal, "Yi Hao, you're going to die!" In a magnificent palace in the imperial city of Great Wu, Yi Hao opened his eyes weakly and looked around at the unfamiliar environment. Just as he was about to struggle to his feet, Yin Xinshin, who was guarding beside him in red, woke up. She quickly helped Yi Hao up and leaned him against the bed. At the same time, she shouted toward the door, "Brother Yi Hao is awake! Brother Yi Hao is awake!" When they heard In Xinshin's voice, San Yang and the others rushed in like a swarm of bees. They stood aside and looked at Yi Hao, who was leaning against the bed. Yi Hao covered his head and asked, "Where am I?" "Brother Yi Hao, this is the Imperial Palace of Great Wu," In Xinshin explained to Yi Hao, sitting beside him. "Why am I here?" "Your Majesty, last night, you were teleported to a forest 100 miles away. Later, when I was searching for you, I heard the sound of fighting in the forest. So, I followed the sound of fighting and found you unconscious. Then, I brought you here." Zhou Dong stood up and explained. "Yes." Yi Hao covered his dizzy head and said, "By the way, did you find the body of banished immortal around?" "No. When I arrived, I only found the corpses of Yuan Hu, Wu Mu, and that death warrior. As for exiled immortal, I didn't see him. I even ordered people to search the surroundings, but they didn't find him either. It's a pity that he got away." Yi Hao sighed, feeling a little regretful. San Yang walked lightly to Yi Hao's side and asked, "Your Majesty, did you kill those 3 people?" "Yes." Yi Hao chuckled and nodded. "What's the situation in Great Wu now?" "After Yuan whose body was brought back last night, the Yuan clan began to rebel," San Yang replied respectfully. "After that, I led people to suppress the rebellion and exterminate the Yuan clan. Not long after that, all the other clans surrendered and pledged their loyalty to the Empire of Tianyuan. Also, the fire in the East Palace was later discovered to be the doing of the Emperor of Great Wu." Yi Hao sighed softly. "The Emperor of Great Wu did this because he didn't want his crown prince to die at my hands. San Yang, you did well. It's my duty to share your Majesty's worries." Yi Hao recovered some strength and struggled to get up from the bed. "Move all the cultivators in Great Wu's imperial city to Tianyuan City," he said in a deep voice. "Once there, summon the leaders of all the clans to see me. Also, if the people are willing to go with me, they can go with me. If they don't want to, then forget it." "Yes." San Yang nodded and asked, "What about the imperial family of Great Wu?" "Imprison them." With that, Yi Hao left. The name of Yi Hao of Tianyuan Empire began to spread throughout the ancient fiend realm. Qingshan Empire, Immortal Cloud Pavilion. Yuan Shu was sitting in his study with a secret manual in his hands. He was reading it with great interest. Beside him knelt Banished Immortal, who liked to dress up as a woman. At the moment, Banished Immortal's heart was in torment, and he was sweating profusely. He didn't even dare to raise his head. While reading, Yuan Shu suddenly asked, "Where are my things?" "Please calm down, young master." The mission failed. Banished Immortal raised his head slightly and said nervously, "Oh? How did you fail this time? It can't be because of that Yi Hao, can it?" "Young master, the mission failed because of that Yi Hao. Not only did he disrupt our plan, but Hei Yi, Yuan Hu, and the others also died at his hands." Hearing this, Yuan Shu gently put down the manual and stared at Banished Immortal. "You're saying Hei Yi died?" Banished Immortal hurriedly kowtowed. "This lowly one deserves to die. This lowly one failed, please punish me." "I'm asking you, Hei Yi died?" "Yes, Hei Yi was killed by Yi Hao with my Dao sword. This lowly one was going to die too, but in order to bring this news to young master, I sacrificed my right hand and escaped death." Yuan Shu stood up and asked coldly, "He used my Dao sword. Did he suffer any backlash?" "Young master, he didn't. Moreover, he can use many powerful sword techniques, and his fusion with my Dao sword is very high." "Ha!" Yuan Shu wasn't angry but smiled. "Interesting, he didn't suffer any backlash from my Dao sword. It seems my Dao sword has its own master." "Banished Immortal, tell me the entire story." "Yes." In Yuan Mu's courtyard, a black-clothed man with a bronze mask quietly approached Yuan Mu's study. At this moment, Yuan Mu was sitting at his desk with a book in his hand. Even though he couldn't see, he was gently caressing it. How is it? Young master, Yi Hao didn't die. My Dao sword seems to have recognized him as its master. How so? When Yi Hao uses my Dao sword, he doesn't need to feed it with blood to unleash its great power without suffering any backlash. Oh, anything else? According to the spy report, when Yi Hao uses my Dao sword, his pupils turn from black to red. They are still red even now, as if they are on fire. Crimson pupils. Yuan Mu put down the book and walked to the window. He took a deep breath and said, I understand, continue to watch, don't expose our whereabouts. Yes. At the same time, Yuan Shu was shocked that Yi Hao was able to tame my Dao sword. He waved at Banished Immortal and said, Keep an eye on Yuan Mu. If he does anything, immediately report to me. Chapter 1421. Yes. The Banished Immortal responded. Then, he asked doubtfully, Mr. Shu, you're in charge of the Celestial Cloud Pavilion now. Yuan Mu is dispensable. Is there a need to do this? If I tell you to go, then go. If you continue to nag, I'll chop your head off. Yuan Shu kicked the Banished Immortal. The Banished Immortal responded and hurriedly ran out. After the Banished Immortal left, Yuan Shu touched his chin thoughtfully and muttered to himself, It seems that I should bring forward the Heavenly Street Convention. Tianyuan Empire, Tianyuan New City. Yi Hao looked at the white scroll in his hand thoughtfully. This white scroll had appeared when the Tianyuan Empire was promoted to a third-rank empire. Today it appeared again. Of course, this also meant that the Tianyuan Empire had been promoted to a fourth-rank empire. During this period, Yi Hao had been busy subduing the forces that originally belonged to the Great Wu Empire. After a period of time, the Tianyuan Empire had reached the standard of a fourth-rank empire in terms of strength, population, and economy. Therefore, this scroll appeared again. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for completing the mission of a fourth-rank empire. The system has been upgraded from level 3 to level 4. A new spiritual intelligence support function has been born. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for obtaining the Phoenix Dance of the Ninth Heaven sword technique. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for obtaining the reward of summoning 2 generals. Do you want to use it? The system's familiar voice appeared in Yi Hao's mind again. However, this time there was a lot of information. He was a little confused. I won't use it for now. Got it. Then, a sword technique appeared in Yi Hao's mind. This sword technique is called Phoenix Dance of the Ninth Heaven. There are a total of 9 sword moves, from weak to strong. If the last sword move is mastered, it can match the full attack of a Spirit Monarch expert. Therefore, Master, please practice well. Don't let this sword technique down. Yi Hao listened to the familiar voice in his mind and nodded silently. However, he soon realized that something was wrong. A new spiritual intelligence has been born? Xia Haoshuan was a little surprised. This chaotic system, except for the beginning when he obtained it, could still talk to him. After that, it was all emotionless mechanical notifications. Now that a new intelligence was born, logically speaking, it was a good thing for the system. Xia Haoshuan did not forget that he shouldered the great responsibility of reviving the Chaos Realm. System, are you there? Yi Hao stood up and asked curiously. Yes, Master. Then why don't you explain to me what initial intelligence means? It means that I now have the basic ability to think and speak. I can communicate with Master normally. Yi Hao crossed his arms and said, Is this all you've got after leveling up? Are there any other special abilities? For example, allowing my cultivation to advance by leaps and bounds, or allowing me to summon a bunch of subordinates. The system's voice was no longer the same. Instead, there was a slight fluctuation in it. You can't make a fatty with just one bite. You have to be down to earth. If you want to summon a general, you just have to complete the mission. Tisk. Yi Hao was greatly disappointed and said, even if you leveled up, there's nothing impressive about it. I'm only at this level. What else do you want me to do? But speaking of quests, they have indeed leveled up a lot. Yi Hao's interest was immediately piqued. He smiled and said, let's hear it. First, quests can now be issued directly. Then, Master will be able to see them. You can choose to complete the quests within the specified time to receive the corresponding reward. It's no longer the same as before when you complete random quests. That's interesting. What else? Second, the mall is now open. After Master completes the quests, he will receive the corresponding quest tokens. With enough quest tokens, he can buy whatever he wants in the mall. Sure, that sounds pretty good. Yi Hao smiled. Just as he was about to enter the mall to take a look, Sanyang walked in with a serious expression. Yi Hao saw Sanyang come in and stop talking to the system. Instead, he asked, what's wrong? What happened? Your Majesty. After Sanyang came in and saw Yi Hao's red eyes, she first asked, what happened to your eyes? I can't figure it out. I don't know when it became like this. But it doesn't affect me much, so I didn't care too much. Sanyang nodded and then said with a serious expression, there is indeed something, but it's not good news for us. As she spoke, Sanyang took out a piece of parchment. Yi Hao looked at the parchment and seemed to have thought of something. He asked, is it related to the Heavenly Street Convention? He remembered that Elder Een had mentioned this convention to him before, but he didn't pay much attention to it. That's right. Sanyang opened the parchment and said slowly, I don't know why, but this year's Heavenly Street Convention was brought forward. Originally, we had half a year to prepare, but now it seems that we only have 3 months. Yi Hao quickly finished reading the contents of the parchment and frowned. This is against me. This Heavenly Street Convention was a grand event jointly organized by the 3 great 5th-rank empires, the Qingshan Empire, the Raging Flame Empire, and the Full Moon Empire. The location was set to be in the Qingshan Empire. Yi Hao frowned and kept pacing back and forth in his room. In the past, the great 4th-rank empires and even the great 5th-rank empires would send their most powerful people to participate in the Heavenly Street Convention. Firstly, it was to make friends through martial arts. Secondly, it was to show the other empires the strength of their empires and establish their authority. Of course, there were even more people who went for the rewards of the Heavenly Street Convention. Originally, Tianyuan didn't need to attend, but who knew that Tianyuan would become a 4th-rank empire, so they had no choice but to participate. Yi Hao originally planned to cultivate for 3 months and increase everyone's strength. They would participate when the Heavenly Street Convention was about to begin. He didn't think that the convention would be brought forward. It was obvious that they were against him. Sanyang asked softly, Your Majesty, what should we do now? Gather everyone in the meeting hall. Yes. Sanyang had just left when the system's familiar voice sounded in Yi Hao's head. Master, you must participate in this Heavenly Street Convention? What? Yi Hao was puzzled. Why is that? Because participating in the Heavenly Street Convention and becoming the champion is your main mission. If you can't complete this mission, you won't be able to activate the following missions. Why do I feel that the birth of intelligence isn't as good as before? Yi Hao was a little speechless. Master, don't worry. Other than the main mission, there will also be side missions. Master, as long as you complete the mission, you will be able to obtain rewards. It will be very beneficial to Master's cultivation. Let me see the mission. Chapter 1422. Sure enough, as the system had said, there were a lot of good things, including magic weapons, elixirs, cultivation methods, and summoning orders used to summon generals. It seemed that it had recovered a lot of its previous functions. It was much better than random rewards. This made him very happy. After all, the stronger the system was, the stronger he was. Master, there are still 3 months before the Heavenly Street Convention. Master must hurry up. After that, the system went silent, and his mind became a lot quieter. Yi Hao collected his thoughts and came to the main hall. Everyone saw Yi Hao preparing to salute, but Yi Hao interrupted them and went straight to the point. I think Sanyang has just told you. I want to know, what do you think? After Yi Hao finished speaking, everyone was silent. Because this news came too suddenly, and it was extremely unfavorable to the Tianyuan Empire. Your Majesty, I think we should give up participating in this convention. The 1,000-pill ancestor stood in the main hall and said, This convention has been brought forward, and we are not well prepared. It will be difficult for us to perform well. Therefore, I suggest we don't go. After the 1,000-pill ancestor finished speaking, a group of people immediately came out to respond to him, saying they would not go. At this time, Zhou Dong also stood up and said in a clear voice, Your Majesty, I don't agree. This Heavenly Street Convention is a grand event of the ancient demon realm. If we don't go, wouldn't the people of the other empires look down on us? This will have a huge impact on our newly established prestige. After Zhou Dong finished speaking, a group of people immediately responded behind him and supported him. Yi Hao quietly watched the two groups of people arguing in the court, and was not in a hurry to express his position. Yi Hao looked at Sanyang and the Snow Emperor, asking for their opinions. Sanyang's point of view was the same as Zhou Dong's, insisting on going, while the Snow Emperor's point of view was the same as the 1,000-pill ancestors, insisting on not going. For a while, the two were in a deadlock. Well, don't quarrel. After Yi Hao finished speaking, the people arguing in the main hall quieted down. Yi Hao thought about it carefully and said, What the 1,000-elixir ancestor said makes sense. If we go, it will only have a great impact on the strength of the Tianyuan Empire. The loss outweighs the gain. At this time, the 1,000-pill ancestor glanced at Zhou Dong triumphantly. Zhou Dong was silent, his face red with anger. But Yi Hao continued, Zhou Dong is right. If we don't go, it'll be a blow to the prestige we've worked so hard to build up. It'll cause unrest among the people. At this time, Zhou Dong turned to the 1,000-pill ancestor, who was stunned on the spot and gloated. However, everyone in the main hall was dumbfounded. It was right to go, but it was also right not to go. Should they go or not? Yi Hao made up his mind. He stood up and said loudly, I've decided. I'll go. Haha, 1,000-pill ancestor, you've lost. Zhou Dong could not help but laugh out loud, while the 1,000-pill ancestor curled his lips and ignored him. In the next second, Yi Hao's words made both of them dumbfounded. However, I will be going alone. None of you are allowed to go. Your Majesty, you can't, Your Majesty. Your Majesty, this trip is dangerous. You are the king of the Tianyuan Empire. How can you take the risk alone? Your Majesty, please think twice. As soon as Yi Hao said this, everyone hurriedly knelt on the ground and began to persuade him. Yi Hao smiled slightly. He stretched out his right hand, and a fiery red long sword appeared in his hand. He glanced at the people in the hall and asked, The question is, who can beat me now? Everyone was stunned. Yi Hao continued, Since none of you can beat me, I will be the person with the highest cultivation in the Tianyuan Empire. If I don't go, who will? Yi Hao had 2 reasons to go. One was because of the main task of the system, and the other was for the future development of the Tianyuan Empire. Everyone looked at Yi Hao, who was holding the Wu Dao sword and standing in the hall, and had to bow their heads in submission. In the Battle of the Dense Forest, Yi Hao fought 4 people alone, killed a first-level Spirit Emperor, 2 second-level Spirit Emperors, and seriously injured a 4th-level Spirit Emperor. Yi Hao's battle record had long been widely known in the Tianyuan Empire. For a time, the reputation of Yi Hao of the Tianyuan Empire began to resound in the surrounding empires. The surrounding fourth-level empires no longer dared to look down on this newly risen empire, and the surrounding third-level empires no longer dared to provoke the Tianyuan Empire. They only hoped that the Tianyuan Empire would not find trouble with them. Everyone in the hall asked themselves, if they were in the same situation as Yi Hao, no one could do what Yi Hao did. Now Yi Hao was truly the strongest person in the Tianyuan Empire. Looking at Yi Hao's figure, Sanyang felt a little emotional. Back then, Yi Hao was still a little cultivator in the spiritual heaven realm who needed her to take care of him. Now, she had to look up to him. In the future, it would be even harder for her to catch up with Yi Hao. Yi Hao put away the Wu Dao sword and said in a deep voice, "I know you are all doing this for the Tianyuan Empire. This idea was also decided after I weighed the pros and cons, Sanyang. Yes. During my absence, everything in the new Tianyuan city will be handed over to you. If there is anything important or urgent, just send a message. If you can't reach me, send someone to the Qingshan Empire to find me." Yes. The thousand-pill ancestor hesitated for a moment, but still stood up and said, "Your Majesty, are you really not going to consider bringing a few more people?" "No need." Yi Hao shook his head gently and said, "Although I have a grudge with the Immortal Cloud Pavilion of the Qingshan Empire, the Immortal Cloud Pavilion is only a force in the Qingshan Empire. I only need to be more vigilant. If I bring followers, it will be too obvious and easy to be exposed. Therefore, I have decided to go alone." "Yes." Yi Hao glanced at the crowd and said, "I will set off in 3 days, but don't come to see me off. Also, you need to create a false impression that I, Yi Hao, am still in the new Tianyuan city, and have not left. This is also a kind of deterrence." "Yes, Your Majesty. Also, during this time, we have successively annexed the Beast-Sealed Empire, the Snow-Wind Empire, and the Great Wu Empire. An endless stream of heavenly treasures will be sent to the new Tianyuan city. I hope that when we meet again, everyone will have improved. Do you understand?" "We understand. We will not disappoint Your Majesty." "Very good." Yi Hao waved his hand gently and said, "That is all. Xinshin, stay. Court is dismissed." Therefore, the crowd quietly left. Soon, only Yin Xinshin and Yi Hao were left in the hall. Yi Hao looked at the silent Yin Xinshin and quietly walked over. He said softly, "I know you are worried about me, but I have a reason to go to the Heavenly Street meeting this time. And once I succeed, the strength of the Tianyuan Empire will increase a lot. Not only will I be able to protect you, but I will also be able to protect the ordinary people who have always regarded me as a god. This is my responsibility." "Yes." Yin Xinshin held back her tears and said, "Brother Yi Hao, promise me that you will return safely." Chapter 1423. Of course. Yi Hao gently stroked Yin Xinshin's forehead and smiled. "To tell you the truth, the person who can take my life hasn't been born yet." "Haha, you're just bragging." "It's true, I'm not lying to you." 3 days later, a black-clothed, ordinary-looking young man with a spatial ring on his finger walked out of the southern gate of Tianyuan New City. The ordinary young man glanced back at the familiar city walls, and the corner of his mouth curled up. He strode away, beginning this journey that was destined to be extraordinary. After the young man left, a red figure appeared on the south gate's wall. That figure looked in the direction where Yi Hao left and said with tears in her eyes, "Brother Yi Hao, you must return safely. Xin will wait for you here." At the entrance of the southern city gate, there was an enchanting figure in purple clothes. That figure was also looking in the direction that Yi Hao had left in. However, her expression was extremely determined as she muttered, "Your Majesty, I hope that the next time I return, the entire Devil region will be filled with your name." That day, a woman in red stood on the city walls and looked in the distance, hoping that the Emperor would return safely. That day, a woman in purple stood at the city gates and sent him off, hoping that the emperor's name would spread far and wide. After Yi Hao left Tianyuan New City, he looked at the system's mission. He definitely couldn't touch the main mission now, so he could only complete some side missions. He happened to see a mission to kill a black dragon in the Earth Lung Mountain Range, so he accepted it. This was because the Earth Lung Mountain Range was on his path. Yi Hao made up his mind. While he was on his way to the Qingshan Empire, he would continue to complete side missions to increase his strength. System: when did a black dragon appear in the Earth Lung Mountain Range? Master, the Earth Lung Mountain Range is within the Tianyuan territory. That dragon has been there for a long time, so the dragon is wantonly attacking people in your territory. On the way to the Earth Lung Mountain Range, Yi Hao felt rather bored, so he chatted with the system. There seems to be someone in front. Yi Hao saw a group of people in front of him. They were 2 men and a woman, and they were attacking him. He also rushed over. He was also helpless. Even now, his problem of not being able to recognize the way still existed. One of them, a tall man with a giant axe, looked at Yi Hao with an unfriendly expression and asked, "Stop, who are you?" When Yi Hao saw the tall man waving the giant axe in his hand, he quickly explained, "Brother, don't be agitated. My name is Yi San Gao. I'm just here to ask for directions." Yi San Gao? Another handsome man holding a folding fan was attracted by Yi Hao's name. He asked with a smile, "This name is a bit interesting. What's its origin?" Speaking of which, I'm not afraid of being laughed at. My original name is not Yi San Gao. It's just that I felt that my previous name didn't sound good, so I changed it. As for the name San Gao, it's very simple. My heart is higher than the sky, my life is higher than the mountain, and that's why I'm higher than the pine tree. TSK, this little brother looks ordinary, but he's full of secrets. The handsome man waved his fan and said with a smile. At this time, the woman in the group of 3 walked over with a cold face and said, "If you want to ask for directions, hurry up. Don't delay our journey." Yi Hao looked at the woman in front of him. She had a good figure and a good appearance, but she looked a little cold. When the tall man saw Yi Hao's eyes looking at the woman, he shouted angrily, "Yi San Gao, where are you looking at?" Yi Hao hurriedly explained, "It's a misunderstanding, a misunderstanding. I just wanted to ask, how do I get to the Earth Lung Mountain Range?" Earth Lung Mountain Range? Hearing this, the 3 of them were shocked. Yi Hao looked at the 3 of them with a smile and said, "Yes, I heard that an evil dragon appeared in the Earth Lung Mountain Range and injured many people, so I'm preparing to go there." The cold woman looked at Yi Hao and said coldly, "That evil dragon has the strength of a 3rd-level spiritual emperor, and it's transforming today. It's preparing to break through to the 4th-level spiritual emperor. You're only a 2nd-level spiritual emperor, and you want to go there alone to die?" Yi Hao was not angry when he heard this. He said jokingly, "Although I'm not strong enough, my master has taught me since I was young that it's the duty of us cultivators to be chivalrous. Now that the evil dragon has appeared, even if my cultivation is not strong enough, how can I sit back and do nothing?" "You little boy, you don't look old, but you talk like an old teacher in a private school." The tall man paused and said, "However, this is a matter of life and death. I advise you not to go." "I don't think so." The handsome man closed his fan and said gently, "This little brother wants to get rid of the evil dragon and benefit the people, so we can't hurt his confidence. To be honest, the 3 of us are also going to the Earth Lung Mountain Range to look for the evil dragon. Little brother, you can come with us." Yi Hao didn't even think about it and directly agreed. He was bored on the way, and it was good to find a few people to relieve his boredom. As for the evil dragon, he really didn't care much about it. The handsome man turned to look at his 2 companions. The icy woman snorted coldly and didn't say anything. She went on her way alone. The tall man first glanced angrily at the extremely handsome man, then shook his head at Yi Hao and went in pursuit of the icy woman. The handsome man also set off on his way. He waved at Yi Hao and said, "Brother Sangao, follow me." "What are you waiting for?" Yi Hao replied brightly, "Wait for me, I'm coming." However, he thought to himself, "These people are quite interesting." Along the way, the four of them talked and laughed. The handsome man also introduced them to him. The cold woman was called Yi. Her parents died when she was young, so she was an orphan. A few years ago, her master, who grew up with her, went to the Earth Lung mountain range to look for elixirs and was killed by the evil dragon. In order to avenge her dead master, Yi promised that she, Yi, would marry whoever could kill the evil dragon. The tall man was called Hong Yen. He was a third-level spiritual emperor and was a famous master in this area. He was also Yi's suitor. The handsome man was called Lin Ying. He was not from the Tianyuan Empire, but was the son of a big family in the Yueluan Empire. One time, he accidentally saw Yi's stunning appearance and fell in love with her at first sight. He wanted to marry no one else but her, so he followed her to the Earth Lung mountain range. During the journey, he also madly pursued Yi, but Yi was still indifferent. One day, the four of them came to the outskirts of the Earth Lung mountain range. As usual, the sky was getting dark. Lin Ying suggested that it was more dangerous to stay in the mountains at night, so they rested for the night. Yi Hao found a big tree, and just as he leaned against it, Lin Ying came over with a smile. "Sangao, go ahead and find out the situation. Catch a magical beast and get some food." Chapter 1424. Before Yi Hao could move, Hong Yen stood up and said angrily, "Lin Ying, you have hands and feet. Why don't you go yourself?" Lin Ying snorted, "I'm tired after walking for a whole day. I don't want to go." Then he looked at Yi Hao coldly. "Brother Sangao, if it weren't for my help, you wouldn't have been able to come to the Earth Lung mountain range. Why, you don't want to help me?" Hong Yen suddenly stood up and said, "Brother Sangao, he has hands and feet. Let him go himself." "Hong Yen, are you crazy? I asked Yi Sangao to help me. What does it have to do with you? Is that the way you ask for help? If you don't like it, you can go with him." "Fine, I'll go." Hong Yen walked over angrily. Yi Hao didn't want to talk to Lin Ying at first, but when he saw Hong Yen go, he had to follow him. After Hong Yen and Yi Hao left, Lin Ying's lips curled into an imperceptible smile. Hong Yen said angrily, "That Lin Ying is too much." Yi Hao said with a smile, "He's just a clown. Why bother with him?" Hong Yen glanced at Yi Hao and said, "Lin Ying is a bastard. My cultivation is much higher than his. I'll definitely kill that two-faced guy with my own hand." On the way back, Hong Yan's expression was very serious. He looked at the thin Yi Hao and said, "Sangao, actually, when we first started, there were more than 100 people." What do you mean?" "He is very beautiful and has a lot of suitors, so there were a lot of people in our team at the beginning." "Then why are there only 3 of you left?" At first, I was also puzzled. I don't know why, but every day when I woke up, I would find that there were a few people missing. It was like this every day. Later, I found that every time there were a few people missing, Lin Ying's smile would become more and more presumptuous, and Yi would frown more and more. In the end, there were only 3 third-level spirit emperors left, so I understood. Yi Hao quickly thought about it and said, "Brother Hong-san, you mean that those people who died were all killed by Lin Ying?" Hong Yen didn't say anything. He held the kettle and walked forward silently. Yi Hao muttered as a mocking sneer appeared on his face. "It's also possible that it wasn't Shadow Killer Lin." Before Yi Hao and Yi Qianqian got close to the camp, they heard the sounds of fighting. Before Yi Hao could speak, Hong Yan's expression changed drastically as he rushed over. Yi Hao hurriedly followed behind him. By the time Yi Hao arrived, Yi was injured for some reason and was being held in the arms of Lin Ying, who was surrounded by masked men. Just as Yi Hao was about to pull Hong Yen back and ask him to wait, Hong Yen had already rushed out. Yi Hao had no choice but to follow him out. "Stop, don't hurt Yi." When the masked men saw Hong Yen attacking, they panicked for a moment and didn't know what to do. The attentive Yi Hao noticed that not only were the masked men a little flustered, but Lin Ying, who was bravely fighting the enemy, was also a little flustered. Yi Hao smiled playfully and slowly approached the masked men. Hong Yen rushed into the crowd as if there was no one around him. The masked men immediately suffered heavy losses. Perhaps they were intimidated by Hong Yan's ferocity, but the masked men finally thought of retreating. Lin Ying also looked relieved. Hong Yen rushed to Yi and asked anxiously, Yi, how are you? Yi struggled out of Lin Ying's arms and leaned against a big tree. Her face was pale as she said, I'm fine. I was just careless and was attacked. I'll be fine after some rest. With that, Yi took an elixir and leaned against the tree to rest. Hong Yen stood guard beside her and didn't move half a step. Yi Hao approached unhurriedly and handed the kettle in his hand to Lin Ying. Unexpectedly, Lin Ying took the kettle and threw it directly at Yi Hao. He asked sternly, Third Hai Yi, let me ask you, did you send these people? Yi Hao looked at him with some amusement. Are you crazy? How can you accuse me like that? I don't have a strong background like you. How can I have so many masked killers as my subordinates? Aren't you flattering me too much? During this period of time, who else but you were not with us when we went out alone? You must have leaked the news and caused the killers to attack. Idiot, I left alone because I was controlled by you. If I leaked the news, wouldn't you be the mastermind? Aren't you shooting yourself in the foot? How dare you scold me? Enough! Just as Lin Ying was about to speak again, Yi said with a cold face, I believe this has nothing to do with Third Hai Yi. Stop arguing. Rest for the night. We will enter the mountain tomorrow. Lin Ying looked at Yi Hao with a livid expression. Then, he found a place far away from Yi Hao and the other two to rest. Yi Hao chuckled and came to Hong Yan's side. The fire was getting smaller and smaller, and the sky was getting darker and darker. In the dead of night, there was suddenly a partridge's cry. Lin Ying quietly opened his eyes and looked at Yi Hao and the other two who were sleeping soundly. Only then did he feel relieved and leave. Just as Lin Ying quietly left, Yi Hao opened his eyes. He walked in the direction Lin Ying left in and soon found him in a forest. Yi Hao observed carefully and found that Lin Ying wasn't alone. Opposite him was a masked man in black. This masked man was one of the masked men who had tried to kill them earlier. Yi Hao sneered, as expected. I was wondering how a young master from such a big family could have no bodyguards. It seems that the fight earlier was a self-directed act of a hero saving a damsel in distress. Also, the disappearance of those people earlier should be the work of his subordinates. Although Yi Hao was far away, the conversation between Lin Ying and the masked man clearly reached Yi Hao's ears. You pieces of trash! Didn't I ask you to deal with Yi Sangao and Hong Yen? Even if Hong Yen is strong, he should be able to buy some time. Young master, please don't be angry. The masked man in black knelt on the ground. Trash, trash, trash. Lin Ying kicked the masked man. As if he felt that it wasn't enough to vent his anger, he kicked him a few more times. Only then did he angrily say, My plan to save the damsel in distress was about to succeed, but it was all ruined by those two fellows who suddenly rushed out. This is really infuriating. Tell the person responsible for the attack to come and see me. The masked man sounded hesitant. What's wrong? I told him to come see me. Didn't you hear me? Young master, they are all dead. Chapter 1425. What? Lin Ying froze on the spot and muttered to himself, That can't be. Even if they're no match for him, they shouldn't all be dead. What's going on? The masked man continued, Our men all had their throats slit by a sword. It's a sword wound. A sword wound? Lin Ying was puzzled. Hong Yen doesn't use a sword, but he does. But she's with me. Could it be that trash Yi Sangao? That can't be. He shouldn't be that strong. Master, it might be a hidden master. Lin Ying's eyes narrowed and his expression turned serious. Yi Hao was also very confused. It turned out that Lin Ying had sent people to ambush by the river. But why did those people all die silently? Even if they were killing people, there should at least be some noise. Yi Hao and Hong Yan didn't hear anything during the whole process. It could only mean that this person was very strong. Yi Hao wondered, who is this person? He helps secretly, which means he's not an enemy. Could he be someone from Tianyuan New City? That's impossible. If he was from Tianyuan New City, he would have found out. Since he couldn't figure it out, he simply stopped thinking about it. Anyway, this person didn't have any ill intentions towards them for the time being. At this moment, Lin Ying's expression was a bit ferocious. He looked at the masked man on the ground and said, I don't care who he is. Take your men and set up an ambush on our path. This time, I'm going to kill those two damn guys. Master, aren't you going to wait? No. A long night is fraught with problems. Yes. Then the masked man disappeared into the night. Lin Ying returned to his smiling face and prepared to go back early to avoid arousing suspicion. Yi Hao chuckled and quietly followed behind the masked man who had just left. The masked man was very cautious as he shuttled through the woods. It didn't take long for him to arrive at the base camp. All the masked men who had participated in the fake show were here. Yi Hao quietly appeared with Wu Dao's sword in his hand. A one-sided massacre began. Lin Ying stretched and glanced at Yi Hao and the others who were lying nearby. She chuckled softly before falling into a sweet dream. As soon as Lin Ying lay down, Yi Hao opened his eyes. He recalled Wu Dao's sword, which was still stained with blood, and put it away in his space ring. He smiled deeply before he began snoring loudly. Early the next morning, the four of them officially set off towards the depths of the Earth-Lung Mountains. Along the way, Yi Hao's Lin Ying's strange. Hong Yan said to Yi Hao, Did Lin Ying take the wrong medicine? She can't stop laughing this early in the morning. As for Yi, her attention had been focused on the evil dragon in the Earth-Lung Mountains the entire time, so she did not pay much attention to Lin Ying's changes. Very soon, the four of them arrived at an extremely spacious grassland covered in weed. At this moment Lin Ying suggested, It's still early. Let's rest here. Yi glanced at the distance and said coldly, Didn't you just say that it's still early? Since it's still early, we should hurry. Otherwise, we'll waste a lot of time if we can't reach the depths of the mountains at night. That's right. If you want to rest, you can rest when we get there, Hong Yan added. I don't care. I'm tired. I want to rest. Lin Ying directly sat down on the grass, refusing to leave no matter what. Rich people really are rich. They can't even take this much hardship. Hong Yan snorted coldly and said, If he doesn't want to go, we'll go. Go. Lin Ying lay on the grass and said proudly, Don't say I didn't warn you. Without me, you might not be able to defeat that evil dragon. Yi Hao said in a hurry, Yeah, since we came together, we should leave together. Yi glanced at Lin Ying, who refused to leave no matter what, and said, All right, we'll rest for a while before we leave. Hong Yan said nothing. He directly sat down beside Yi. Yi Hao glanced at Lin Ying deeply and thought, I know what you're waiting for. Just keep waiting. No matter how long you wait, you won't appear. An hour later, Lin Ying remained seated on the ground. However, he was no longer as calm as before. He became extremely anxious, looking left and right. Apart from Yi Hao, no one knew what he was looking at. Hong Yan said impatiently, It's already been an hour. Lin Ying, are you leaving or not? Let's wait a little longer, Lin Ying said perfunctorily. Wait? What are we waiting for? It'll be dark if we wait any longer. Yi obviously couldn't sit still. Perhaps it was because the closer they got to the evil dragon, the more anxious she became. She said, Lin Ying, you said you were tired, so we rested for an hour. If you still don't want to leave, we won't keep you company. All right. Lin Ying said, Let's go. There's no need to be angry. Then, the four of them set off into the depths of the mountains. Lin Ying would never have thought that the group of subordinates who secretly followed him were all killed by Yi Hao last night. The closer they got to the depths of the mountains, the fewer magical beasts they encountered. However, although they encountered fewer magical beasts, they were getting stronger and stronger. Just now, 2 magical beasts of the 2nd level of the Spirit Emperor realm passed by them. If Yi Yi and Hong Yan hadn't released their cultivation of the 3rd level of the Spirit Emperor realm, they would have fought with those 2 magical beasts. Not long after, the 4 of them arrived at the center of the Earth-Lung Mountains. There was a huge lake there. Yi Hao looked at the endless lake and asked, "This is a lake. Is that evil dragon a flood dragon?" Lin Ying looked at him as if he was an idiot. "You don't know anything and you dare to follow us. You're really not afraid of death." Hong Yan explained to Yi Hao patiently, "That's right. That evil dragon is indeed a flood dragon. Every once in a while, the flood dragon would go on a killing spree in the village at the foot of the mountain. Over time, no one dared to live at the foot of the mountain. So the flood dragon ran to a town further away to make trouble. There were countless casualties." Yi Yi continued Hong Yan's words. "Then no one did anything?" Yi Hao asked. "Did anything?" Lin Ying laughed and said, "You're from the Tianyuan Empire. Don't you know that the Tianyuan Empire is a newly established empire? This flood dragon is of the 3rd level of the Spirit Emperor realm. The Emperor of the Tianyuan Empire is only of the 2nd level. He has a few masters of the 3rd level with him, but does he dare to send them to their deaths?" Hearing this, Yi Hao fell into silence. Not only Yi Hao, but also Yi Yi and Hong Yan, who were citizens of the Tianyuan Empire, fell into silence. Chapter 1426. Suddenly, the entire lake shook. The water surface broke open, and a huge dragon covered with black scales emerged from the bottom of the water. Lin Ying looked at the black dragon hovering in the sky and was shocked. She said in a hoarse voice, "Yi, you lied to us. You said that the dragon was only at the 3rd level of the Spirit Emperor realm and was about to transform into a dragon, but it has already grown a dragon horn and reached the 4th level of the Spirit Emperor realm." Yi's face was cold. She didn't speak, but her eyes were staring at the black dragon hovering in the air. Hong Yan took out the giant axe with a heavy face and said to Yi Hao, "Brother San Gao, this dragon is powerful. You should leave as soon as possible." Yi Hao heard the words, but he didn't move. Instead, he smiled and said, "Brother Hong San, someone won't let me leave now. Am I right, Miss Yi?" Yi heard Yi Hao's words, but her expression was cold. She didn't speak. At this moment, Lin Ying suddenly retreated frantically. Yi suddenly pulled out her long sword and stabbed it into the ground. Lin Ying's frantically retreating figure suddenly stopped. Lin Ying looked at her feet surrounded by ice and yelled at Yi, "Yi, are you crazy? You are going to die. I don't want to follow you. You can leave, but what about all the lives you've killed?" Yi turned her head and looked at Lin Ying coldly. As soon as Lin Ying made eye contact with her, she hurriedly retracted her gaze and evaded. "What did you say? I don't understand." Hong Yan stood beside Yi Hao with a blank face. Yi Hao smiled and said, "It seems that Miss Yi already knew that someone's little trick was seen by her. I'm afraid that someone's self-directed hero saving the beauty is also a child's play in her eyes. Aren't you hiding it too? You were quite impressive when you killed people last night." Yi didn't deny Yi Hao's words. She looked at Yi Hao and sneered. "What do you mean?" Hong Yan was even more confused. The amount of information was a bit too much for him to digest all at once. "Did you kill my people?" Lin Ying was shocked by Yi Hao's words. She glared at Yi Hao in disbelief. "That's impossible. You're only a 2nd-level spiritual emperor. How is that possible? And you were there when I came back last night. How could you have gone out?" Yi sheathed her sword and slapped Lin Ying's face. Lin Ying couldn't help but fly towards the dragon in the sky. Before Lin Ying was sent flying, He clearly heard Yi scold him as an idiot. He was dumbfounded. It turned out that Yi had been concealing her strength all along the way. If it wasn't for that, how could she have easily slapped him flying? Yi turned her head and looked coldly at Yi Hao and Hong Yan. She said softly, "Are you going to do it yourselves, or should I do it myself?" While Hong Yan was still in a daze, Yi Hao had already turned around and flew straight towards the flood dragon in the sky. Before he left, he didn't forget to smile meaningfully at Hong Yan. "Third brother Hong, what are you waiting for? If we don't do anything, Missy won't let us go." Hearing Yi Hao's words, Hong Yan suddenly understood. He looked at the indifferent Yi with a complicated expression. Then, he lifted the giant axe in his hand and flew into the sky. Yi crossed her arms and looked at the three people and one dragon fighting in the sky. Her lips curled into a mocking sneer. Lin Ying was the first to passively challenge the flood dragon in the sky. Then it was Yi Hao and Hong Yan who were passively attacked. The flood dragon looked at the three black dots in front of it and was very angry. This group of people had already disturbed its peace, and now they even dared to come in front of it and provoke its dragon power. Therefore it was furious. It clawed forward, wanting to tear these three ignorant black dots into pieces. The three of them hurriedly retreated, not wanting to fight it head-on. "You love to read, right?" After Lin Ying retreated, he quickly ran away, wanting to get away from this troublesome place. Before he could take 2 steps, he was slapped back again. He looked angrily at Yi, who had just returned to the ground, and his heart was filled with unspeakable anger. Yi Hao smiled and comforted him. "Don't struggle. Yi has the cultivation of a 4th-level spiritual emperor. With your ability, you can't escape. Just focus on dealing with the evil dragon. If you defeat the evil dragon, maybe that person will let you go." "Defeat the evil dragon?" Lin Ying snorted. "I'm afraid that even if I defeat the evil dragon, she still won't let me go. This damn bitch don't wait for me to escape. Otherwise, I'll make sure she dies a horrible death." "Yi is not a bitch." Hong Yan abandoned the evil dragon and swung his axe at Lin Ying, who was speaking viciously. "Are you crazy? The one who trapped us here is Yi. Even so, she has her difficulties." "What difficulties does she have?" "Hong Yan, you're still speaking for her at this time. You're really incorrigible. No matter what, you have no right to scold her." Just as the two were arguing, the flood dragon swung its tail and swung it over. Yi Hao grabbed Hong Yan's collar and easily dodged the flood dragon's attack. Unfortunately, Lin Ying was not so lucky. The flood dragon's huge strength sent him flying. He hit the surface of the lake and sank to the bottom. Then, Lin Ying flew out from the bottom of the lake and met the flood dragon's sharp claws. Lin Ying wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and shouted at Yi, who had just returned to the shore, "Yi, don't go too far." Yi's response was still indifferent. "I told you not to struggle. Focusing on dealing with the evil dragon is the right thing to do," Yi Hao said casually from the side. "Brat, what right do you have to say that to me? Yi is fine, but you're not worthy." With that, Lin Ying threw a palm forward. Unexpectedly, Yi Hao stepped on his face and he quickly fell to the bottom of the lake. Hong Yan looked at Yi Hao in surprise and said, "Brother Sangao, so you've been hiding your strength too." Lin Ying, who had just been thrown out from the bottom of the lake by Yi, was really scared now. He covered his swollen handsome face and did not dare to say another word. Yi Hao reached out with his right hand and a fiery red sword appeared in his hand. He faced the flood dragon and flew forward. He laughed and said, "How can we not have some tricks up our sleeves?" Yi Hao smiled and held out his sword. He said softly, "Phoenix dances in the 9th heaven, Sword 1, Phoenix emerges." Yi Hao flew into the air and gently waved the Wu Dao sword in his hand. Then, a fiery red phoenix slowly opened its eyes behind him. "Ding dong, congratulations to Master for using the first move of Phoenix dances in the 9th heaven. You're rewarded with a cloud-chasing pill." Then, the fiery red phoenix flapped its wings and flew toward the roaring flood dragon. On the shore, Yi looked seriously at Yi Hao's sword technique. She felt that the power of Yi Hao's sword technique was close to the peak attack of a third-level spiritual emperor. Chapter 14:27. In fact, she did have a master, but he did not die at the hands of the flood dragon. Instead, he died at the hands of a powerful force. For this reason, she could only work hard to cultivate and avenge her master. Recently, she had encountered a bottleneck in her cultivation, so she wanted to use the Dragon Ball to break through the bottleneck. That was why she set up such a big game of chess. However, she did not expect that Lin Ying would be so intolerant of others that there were only 4 people left in the mighty team. However, the development of the situation was still under her control, so she was happy to watch from the sidelines. Hong Yan and Lin Ying, who were closer, were far more shocked than Yi. At the same time, the two of them had a feeling that if this sword style was used on them, they would definitely die. Yi Hao sheathed his sword and stood up straight. His fiery red eyes were burning with the desire to fight. Along the way, Yi Hao not only did chores like collecting firewood and water, but also secretly practiced the moves of phoenix dances in the 9th heaven. Previously, he had only heard the system bragging about how powerful phoenix dances in the 9th heaven was, but he had not tried it himself. This time, he could use the flood dragon to test it. Roar! The black flood dragon seemed to have felt a great threat. With a roar, several water pillars shot up into the sky from the lake. These water pillars intersected with each other, forming a huge water shield in front of the flood dragon. As soon as the fire phoenix touched the water shield, the huge water shield turned into steam and disappeared. The flood dragon stretched out its claws and fought with the burning phoenix. After a few rounds, the phoenix cried out sadly and was torn apart by the flood dragon. Roar! After tearing the phoenix apart, the flood dragon roared at Yi Hao proudly. Hong Yan shouted, "Brother Sangao, be careful." Seeing the flood dragon, Yi Hao retreated instead of advancing. He looked up to the sky and shouted, "Good, evil beast, die!" Holding the sword with both hands, he flew to the flood dragon's head and stabbed it. Unexpectedly, the flood dragon's scales were too hard. Instead of piercing through, he was slapped down by the flood dragon's claws and smashed to the shore with a dragon tail swing. Yi, who was on the shore, saw Yi Hao flying towards her. Without any explanation, she lifted her leg and kicked Yi Hao into the mouth of the flood dragon. Yi Hao's whole body spun in the air. He could not escape the flood dragon's bloody mouth. Seeing that Yi Hao was about to fly into the flood dragon's mouth, Hong Yan held a giant axe and chopped at the flood dragon's head. The flood dragon's head, Hong Yan, immediately fly behind Yi Hao's body. Haha, I told you, that B*TCH is a B*TCH. Lin Ying, looking at Yi Hao's hands, and began to ridicule him. Lin, Hong Yan said, "Yi, Lin Yan's Yen. Yi, Hong Yan, Yi's Lin, Linza's Hong Yan, Yi kick of Lin Yan kill Yi attack." Yi Hao, who had attacked in anger, didn't stop there. He dodged the flood dragon's attack and kicked Lin Ying hard. Just like that, Lin Ying was like a rubber ball, spinning back and forth under Yi Hao and Yi's feet. "Brother Sangao, I was wrong. I won't do it again. Forgive me, I won't say anything bad about you again. If this goes on, I'll be crippled. Brother Sangao, please forgive me." Hong Yan looked at Lin Ying's wailing appearance and smiled like a flower. Who asked you to speak nonsense? You deserve it." Obviously, he was very satisfied that Yi Hao stood up for him. Roar! The flood dragon stretched out its claw. Yi Hao hurriedly dodged, but Lin Ying was kicked into the air by Yi. Lin Ying, who was still spinning in the air, was slapped to the ground by the flood dragon. At this time, the flood dragon seemed to be a little abnormal. It was no longer as calm as before and began to take the initiative to attack more often. At the same time, Yi Hao also noticed that there was a trace of lightning on the flood dragon's body. On the shore, after Yi kicked Lin Ying into the air, she also noticed this slight change. She said with a serious expression, "Not good, the flood dragon is about to transform. If it succeeds, its strength will increase greatly. Then we won't be its match." After Yi said that, the flood dragon began to attack everywhere. It was as if it could not be disturbed when it was about to transform. Therefore, it wanted to kill all the troublemakers one by one before that happened. Yi Hao dodged the flood dragon's attack and said, If you want to transform and evolve, you have to get my permission first." Yi Hao raised his Wu Dao sword. The sword shone with a red light and gradually, the shadows of 2 fire phoenixes appeared behind Yi Hao. A smile appeared on Yi Hao's face as he shouted, "Phoenix Dance of the 9 Heavens, second move, Phoenix Birth." Yi Hao gently thrust out his Wu Dao sword, and the 2 fire phoenixes charged towards the black flood dragon that was spitting out lightning. Lin Ying and Hong Yan, who had just stood still, could not stand this strong power and retreated slightly. Yi, who was on the shore, finally pulled out her sword. It was a Cloud Soul sword that looked soft but was abnormally hard. Yi held the Cloud Soul sword tightly and aimed at the target in the sky. But her target was not the flood dragon that was fighting with the phoenixes. Instead, it was Yi Hao who had just used up most of his spirit energy and was trying to recover. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for using the second move of Phoenix Dance 9th Heaven. The reward is a golden silk soft armor. Spirit Emperor level golden silk soft armor. Yi Hao was puzzled. Then, he felt a layer of soft but hard armor under his clothes. At this time, a sense of danger rose in his heart. Yi Hao raised his left hand and put a pill to his mouth. Just as he did this, he saw Yi, who had been biding her time on the shore, appear in front of him. Yi's expression was calm as she stabbed her sword. Cloud Soul spell, go die. Yi Hao could have dodged this move, but for some reason, after being locked onto by the sword, his body froze and he could not move. Yi's sword pierced Yi Hao's abdomen, and an ice-cold chill invaded Yi Hao's internal organs. Yi Hao, who was stabbed, was smashed into the bottom of the lake and disappeared. After Yi stabbed Yi Hao to death, she looked at Lin Ying and Hong Yan as if nothing had happened. Lin Ying met her gaze and felt as if she had fallen into an ice cave. Just as she had the thought of running away, it was cut off. And Hong Yan, who met Yi's gaze, felt very unfamiliar. This was a completely different person from the Yi who had accompanied them all the way. Although she was cold, she was talking and laughing. Yi held the Cloud Soul sword and looked at the phoenix shadow that was fighting with the flood dragon. With a bang, the phoenix shadow instantly collapsed. Yi said coldly to Lin Ying and Hong Yan, "You can choose to run, but I can guarantee that you will die a worse death than Yi San Gao." Chapter 1428. Hearing this, Lin Ying's face was filled with fear while Hong Yan's face turned serious. Yi snorted and stepped forward with her sword in hand. Perhaps without the supervision of their master, the 2 fire phoenixes, whose combined strength was enough to fight against a 4th-level spirit emperor, began to lose their strength. Soon, they were torn into pieces by the ferocious flood dragon. Although the flood dragon won, it was not in a good situation. Its strength had been depleted by 60 to 70%, but it did not forget to show its competitive nature and roared to show off its strength to Yi Hao. Unfortunately, Yi Hao was no longer there. What welcomed it was a cold and emotionless sword. The long sword cut through the hard scales on the flood dragon's head, as if it was cutting vegetables and melons, piercing straight into its head. Roar! Yi pulled out the sword and the flood dragon came out in pain, blood splattering everywhere. The flood dragon looked at the approaching Yi and its big eyes kept turning. It was not thinking about how to take revenge, but how to quickly escape from here. If it fought against Yi with its peak strength, it would not be afraid. But now, if it dragged on, it would only become a dead dragon. Moreover, it was about to transform, so it did not want to give away the cultivation that it had accumulated all these years to someone else. Therefore, after it roared ferociously, it turned around and ran. Yi seemed to have seen through its intentions and sneered, "Evil creature, where are you going?" The Cloud Soul sword spun in her hand and a few thick pillars of water shot up into the sky and turned into ice pillars to block the Flood Dragon's path. The Flood Dragon roared and tried to smash the icicles with its claw. Unexpectedly, when the dragon's claw hit the icicles remained intact and the dragon's claw couldn't be pulled back. Not only that, but the huge dragon's claw was slowly covered in ice. Soon, the huge dragon's claw was completely frozen. Seeing this, Yi sneered and sneered, "Idiot, how can my ice pillars be compared to ordinary ice pillars? They are infused with the extreme cold of the Cloud Soul art. Even if you are a 4th-level Spirit Emperor, you still can't escape death." Yi threw the Cloud Soul sword in her hand onto the surface of the lake. That slender Cloud Soul sword did not sink to the bottom of the lake. Instead, it stood quietly on the surface of the lake. Yi's hands quickly formed a seal. Suddenly, the surface of the lake shook violently. Then, water pillars that were thicker than the previous ones rose into the sky from all directions of the lake. They moved in an arc, and finally, all the water pillars connected to form a huge cage, trapping the Flood Dragon in it. What was worth noting was that this huge cage was slowly shrinking as time passed, and it was also compressing the space that the Flood Dragon could move about in. Yi's eyes shot out 2 rays of cold light, her lips moving slightly. Cloud Soul spell cage. Roar, roar, roar. No matter how the Flood Dragon roared in the cage, it could not remove the ice on its claws, nor could it leave the cage that was getting smaller and smaller. Yi waved her jade-like hand and that slender Cloud Soul sword returned to her hand. Ever since the Cloud Soul sword returned to her hand, the speed at which the cage was shrinking became faster and faster. The Flood Dragon was not willing to be trapped like this. It used its spiritual energy that had recovered by 60% and roared with all its might. A ball of lightning that was the size of a baby's head and was emitting purple lightning slowly formed in the Flood Dragon's mouth. Yi threw the Cloud Soul sword in her hand into the air, and the sword tip was aimed at the Flood Dragon's head. At the same time, all the spiritual energy in her body was continuously channeled into the Cloud Soul sword that was getting bigger and bigger. Just a trapped beast putting up a fight, die. Yi's long black hair fluttered without any wind, and the purple lightning ball in the Flood Dragon's mouth shot out. The huge Cloud Soul sword and the lightning ball that was emitting purple lightning clashed together. The huge explosion caused by the collision of the two caused Hong Yen and Yi, who were standing at the side, to lose their balance. It also caused the surrounding trees to break inch by inch, and even caused the lake below them to ripple. Only Yi was still standing there firmly, and her body did not move at all. After the explosion, the cage had completed its task. It completely wrapped the Flood Dragon's huge body in it and even froze it. Yi moved lightly and walked to the Flood Dragon's side. She looked at the Flood Dragon's huge eyes that were still open even when it died, and said to herself, "This trip is really thanks to you guys. Otherwise, I would have to lie in bed for a year and a half if I were to forcefully take this Dragon Ball." After seeing Yi's true strength, Lin Ying didn't dare to speak, but Hong Yen stood up. At the same time, Lin Ying admired his courage. Hong Yen said angrily to Yi, "Why did you kill Brother Sangao? He is just a tool. I naturally have to throw him away after using him." Yi glanced at Hong Yen indifferently and continued, "Not only him, but you guys are also the same. Miss Yi, please wait. Brother Sangao doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. He is a useless tool, but we are different. We still have value. Miss Yi won't kill us, right?" Lin Ying was shocked when he heard Yi's remarks. He quickly came out and said. Yi glanced casually at Hong Yen, who was in a daze, and said playfully, "Oh? Still have value? I really don't see any value in you guys. Serving tea and water, collecting firewood and running errands, we can do it all. We just ask Miss Yi to spare our lowly lives. Now Lin Ying had lowered his posture very much. He no longer had the handsome demeanor from before. Now, he just wanted to kneel down and call Yi Grandaunt. He just wanted to spare his life. At the same time, Lin Ying also pulled Hong Yan, who was in a daze, to let him lower his head and admit defeat. Unfortunately, Hong Yan was unmoved. Yi laughed. It seems that things are not as you said. Then she said again, okay, I still have use for you guys. I won't kill you for the time being. When I take out this dragon pearl, you guys will follow me. Okay, thank you, Missy. Thank you, Missy. After learning that he would not die for the time being, Lin Ying hurriedly said gratefully. Now, he no longer dared to have any ideas about Yi. He just wanted to be as far away from this crazy woman as possible. Yi straightened her expression and looked at the frozen flood dragon. A smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. She stretched out the cloud soul sword and patted on the ice twice quietly. Boom! The huge block of ice suddenly shattered into pieces, and the huge flood dragon also fell to the surface of the lake. Yi stepped forward quickly and went straight to the abdomen of the flood dragon. She broke it open with her sword. Suddenly, her eyes widened. She said in a deep voice, "How is it possible? It is about to transform into a dragon. How can there be no dragon pearl? How is it possible?" Suddenly, a figure quietly appeared behind her and whispered, "Are you looking for this thing?" Chapter 1429. Hearing this, Yi Yimei suddenly turned her head, only to see the unprepossessing young man who had just died under her sword suddenly appear in front of her. Not only that, in his hand was the black dragon pearl that she had been dreaming of. So this is the Dragon Ball. It doesn't look like much. Yi Hao gently tossed the black bead in his hand and looked playfully at Yi, who was holding back her anger in her chest. "Brother Sangao, you didn't die." Seeing Yi Hao come back from the dead, Hong Yan couldn't help but be very happy. He hurriedly came to Yi Hao's side and gave him a big bear hug. Lin Ying, on the other hand, looked at Yi Hao, who appeared here unscathed, and said in surprise, "This kid didn't die. How is it possible? Yi is so strong, but she didn't kill him? Unless his strength is higher than Yi. Oh my God, what kind of monsters are these two? No, I have to leave this place quickly." Unexpectedly, Lin Ying had just taken 2 steps when Yi Hao appeared in front of him in a flash. Lin Ying didn't even see Yi Hao's figure clearly. "Did I say you could leave?" Yi Hao imitated Lin Ying's appearance and smiled gently. Then, he kicked Lin Ying's abdomen. Lin Ying's face was distorted as he clutched his abdomen and crashed into a tree not far away. Yi Hao appeared in front of Yi again and said to Hong Yan, "Brother Hong San, help me look after that kid. Don't let him run away." "Okay." Hong Yan responded. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly stopped and looked at Yi Hao with some embarrassment. Yi Hao patted Hong Yan's shoulder and said quietly, "Brother Hong, don't worry. I know what to do with your woman." Hong Yan was overjoyed when he heard this and left. Even though Yi Hao's voice was very low, Yi, who was a 4th-level spirit emperor, heard it clearly. Yi said coldly, "I, Yi, am not anyone's woman." Yi Hao spread his hands and said with a smile, "I'm not talking about you. Why are you in such a hurry to defend yourself? Could it be that you're secretly in love with my 3rd brother? You're courting death." Yi Hao put away the dragon pearl and held the Wu Dao sword in front of his chest to block Yi's soft attack. Yi's eyes grew colder. She looked at Yi Hao and said slowly, "I, Yi, am not anyone's woman in this lifetime. I am myself. Do as you wish. However, I clearly remember the sword that you stabbed me with. Although I, Yi Sangao, am a person, I am not someone who would repay evil with kindness. Today I will make you suffer a bit. That's exactly what I want. I'll kill you and take the Dragon Ball." Then, a man and a woman fiercely collided. As time passed, sword light gushed out one after another. It was brilliant. On the other side, Lin Ying, who got up from the ground and was about to escape while the two were fighting, was blocked by a burly man with a giant axe. Lin Ying, where are you going? It's none of your business. Get out of my way. Since that's the case, then I can't leave. Mountain axe. With a swing of the axe, the two figures, one strong and one thin, were fighting again. Yi Hao swung his sword away from Yi, who was approaching him. In a flash, he came behind Yi and directly stabbed with his sword. Yi quietly dodged and avoided Yi Hao's attack. She looked at Yi Hao's speed and couldn't help but feel a little surprised. Her cultivation was clearly higher than Yi Hao's, but she could only capture Yi Hao's afterimage. She couldn't help but ask, "You really are hiding a lot of things. When you were fighting with the dragon, you weren't this fast." Yi Hao used his speed advantage to confuse her and answered, "Of course. How can I not have some trump cards in my hands when I'm out here?" Yi Hao looked calm, but he only wanted to curse in his heart. The reason why he didn't die and was so fast was all thanks to the system's reward. After using the second sword technique of Phoenix dances in the ninth heaven, he was rewarded with a set of golden silk soft armor. However, before he could use it, Yi's sword came. In order to block Yi's full blow, the golden silk soft armor was completely destroyed. And the reward for using the first sword technique of Phoenix dances in the ninth heaven was a pill called Cloud Chasing Pill. It could quickly increase the user's speed in a short period of time. This was also the reason why Yi could only capture an afterimage, even though her cultivation was higher than Yi Hao's. Yi Hao looked at Yi, who was standing still, and felt a little anxious. There's not much time left. I have to hurry. Yi stood still very cautiously, not daring to reveal a single flaw. Because she knew that as long as she revealed a single flaw, the man who attacked like a poisonous scorpion would definitely not let go of such a great opportunity. Yi Hao and Yi were in a deadlock. On the other side, Hong Yan and Lin Ying's situation was completely different. In the beginning, Hong Yan and Lin Ying were evenly matched, but as time went on, it was Hong Yan who was chasing after Lin Ying while Lin Ying was begging for mercy. In fact, with Lin Ying's cultivation and strength, he wouldn't go so far as to beg for mercy. However, he knew that he didn't have much time left. If he couldn't get past Hong Yan as soon as possible, he wouldn't be able to escape death when Yi Sangao and Lin Ying finished fighting. Especially Yi Sangao. Thinking back to when he ordered Yi Sangao to gather firewood and water, he did a lot of bad things to Yi Sangao. If he waited until Yi Sangao was free, he would be dead for sure. Thinking of this, Lin Ying's intestines turned green with regret. If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have lusted after beauty and gotten involved in this mess. Now, he was really at a dead end. He couldn't cry for help. Lin Ying dodged Hong Yan's attack and shouted, "Hong Yan, don't go too far. A rabbit will bite when cornered, and a dog will jump over a wall when cornered. If you push me too far, I'll take you down with me." Hong Yan looked indifferent. "Hey, who said I'm going to take you down? I just need to hold you back. You big guy, you usually look quite stupid. Why aren't you stupid today? Who are you calling a fool?" Hong Yan's face sank and he increased the strength in his hand. Lin Ying was in great pain. Brother Hong Sangao, I was wrong. You're a great man, so don't stoop to my level. Mother, it hurts. Grandpa Hong, I beg you, let me live. Lin Ying, will definitely repay you in the future. Grandpa Hong, don't. I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. I beg you, let me pass. Even though Lin Ying was crying and begging for mercy, Hong Yan didn't budge in the slightest. He still stood there with his giant axe, not letting Lin Ying pass. Hong Sangao, you've gone too far. I'll kill you. Lin Ying saw that Hong Yan wasn't moved by force or persuasion. He roared and wanted to fight Hong Yan to the death. Chapter 1430. At this moment, The violent sound coming from the sky attracted the attention of both of them. They looked up and saw two fire phoenixes and an ice dragon formed from lake water colliding violently. After a cloud of smoke, one person was standing while the other landed on the shore. Hong Yen looked at the figure on the shore and hurriedly rushed over. Lin Ying saw this and knew that his chance to escape had come, so he quickly left this troublesome place. However, he had only taken 2 steps when his legs suddenly turned to jelly and he knelt on the ground. At this moment, Yi Hao slowly descended from the sky with the Wu Dao sword in his hand and walked towards Lin Ying. Lin Ying knelt on the ground without a word, trembling all over. Yi Hao came in front of him and waved his left hand. 2 small flying swords the length of a thumb slowly left Lin Ying's feet and landed on Yi Hao's palm, spinning around. Yi Hao looked at Lin Ying and said, "Run? Do you think you can run?" Bang bang bang. Lin Ying did not say a word. She raised her noble forehead and touched the hard sand on the ground. Yi Hao smiled coldly and did not speak. "Brother Sangao, I was blind to not recognize you. I beg you to let me go. Can you not kill me and spare my life? Let me serve tea and water, pick up firewood and start a fire. I only beg you to spare my life. I swear to you, Brother Sangao, that I, Lin Ying, am willing to be your servant for the rest of my life. I will never betray you." As Lin Ying kowtowed, his lively mind also gradually sank. At first, he wanted Yi Hao to let him go. Later on, he wanted to spare his life. Later on, he degraded himself and was willing to be a servant. However, no matter what he said, Yi Hao was not moved. Yi Hao grabbed him by the collar and lifted him into the air. He smiled and said, "It seems that you are very afraid of death?" "Yes, yes, yes. I am still young and I don't want to die. I still have a bright future ahead of me." Yi Hao looked at Lin Ying's cowardly appearance and sneered. He directly dragged Lin Ying to the ground and walked towards Hong Yen. At the same time, he said softly, "Your life and death is not up to me to decide for now." Hong Yen looked at the unconscious Yi in his arms and felt very anxious. When he saw Yi Hao walking over, before he could say anything, Yi Hao interrupted him. "Don't worry, it's fine. Didn't I tell you that I know what to do for your woman?" With that, Yi Hao casually tossed Lin Ying to the side. With a wave of his hand, 4 flying swords flew out of Lin Ying's body. Yi Hao waved his sleeve and put away the flying sword he snatched from exiled immortal. At the same time, Yi suddenly woke up and spat out a mouthful of black blood. Her pale face gradually recovered. She looked at Yi Hao and said coldly, "I'm not as good as you. You win." Yi Hao put his hands behind his back and smiled. "I was just lucky. You won. Tell me, what do you want?" Yi Hao smiled and took out the black dragon pearl and handed it to Yi. Yi's body trembled and she asked in confusion, "What do you mean?" "Your cultivation has reached a bottleneck. This dragon pearl is of great use to you, but it's not so important to me. Therefore, I'm giving it to you." "Humph, what do you mean by giving it to me?" "It's mine." Yi snorted and grabbed it. Her expression softened a little as she asked, "Tell me, what are your conditions?" Yi Hao sighed softly and said, "Alas, it's so easy to talk to smart people." "Say it." Yi Hao straightened his face and said word by word, "I want you to submit to me." Yi and Hong Yen looked at Yi Hao in shock. "Brother Sangao, are you serious?" Yi Hao looked at Hong Yen and said, "Do I look like I'm joking?" "Why should I?" Yi said indifferently, "If it's just because of this dragon pearl, then forget it. I'll return the dragon pearl to you." "Return it to me?" Yi Hao said with a playful look. "If you return it to me, you can leave here alive." "Brother Sangao, what do you mean?" Hong Yen was furious. "I've always treated you as a brother. If you do this, don't blame me for falling out with you." Yi Hao didn't look at Hong Yen. He looked at Yi Hao with a smile. "Give me a reason." Yi's expression turned from cold to calm. "Reason? It's very simple. Because I'm Yi Sangao from Tianyuan New City." "Ah!" Hong Yen was stunned. Yi was deep in thought. Yi Hao chuckled and took out a dragon-shaped token and threw it into Yi's arms. Yi looked at the dragon-shaped token in her arms and came to a realization. She thought carefully and said in a deep voice, "What can you give me if I submit to you? Help you take revenge." Yi Hao paced slowly and said in detail, "When you came to this lake, your expression was still normal. You didn't show any other expression. This means that your so-called master didn't die in the hands of the flood dragon. You came here to take the dragon pearl and improve your realm. Because your enemy is very powerful. With your current strength, it's no different from suicide. Am I right?" Yi looked at Yi Hao's spirited expression. For the first time, she really looked at this ordinary-looking young man in front of her. Without hesitation, she knelt on the ground and said in a deep voice, "Yi is willing to submit." Hong Yen and Lin Ying were dumbfounded. What's going on? Why did Yi submit to Yi San Gao all of a sudden? Very good. Raise your head. Yi raised her head. Yi Hao moved his mind and a cloud of black earth fiend chi went into Yi's mind. Yi sensed it carefully and found nothing unusual. Hong Yen said anxiously, "Yi San Gao, what did you do to Yi?" Yi Hao smiled and said, "Brother Hong, don't be agitated. This thing won't do Yi any harm. Of course, the premise is that she can keep her promise with me and won't betray me. I will keep my promise with you. I hope you can keep your promise too." "Of course." At this moment, Yi looked at Lin Ying who was kneeling beside her. Lin Ying quickly looked away after meeting Yi's eyes. She trembled and did not dare to look at him. "What do you want to do with him?" "Isn't that what I want to ask you?" "Ask me?" Yi was a little confused. "Yes. Didn't he kill so many of your companions? Of course I want to ask you. Take it as my sincerity to you." Lin Ying crawled to Yi and begged for mercy. "Yi, let me go. You just promised me that you won't kill me for the time being, right?" Yi glanced at Lin Ying's fearful expression. After hesitating, she said, "Let him go." Lin Ying was overjoyed when he heard the words. Yi Hao was taken aback. Hong Yen was also stunned. "Let him go? Are you sure?" Yi Hao confirmed with Yi. Yi nodded. "I promised him that I won't kill him." "All right then." Yi Hao spread his hands and acquiesced. "Thank you. Thank you, Missy. Thank you." Lin Ying hurriedly thanked her, then dragged his injured body and left with difficulty. Not long after, a small flying sword passed through his head and then flew back into Yi Hao's sleeve. Lin Ying's eyes widened and he died with doubts. "What do you mean?" Lin Yi looked puzzled and said, "Didn't you say that you let him go?" "That's what you said." "I didn't say that." Yi Hao looked at the two puzzled people and explained, "This kind of person can't be left alive. If you let him go 1 second ago, he will bring a large group of people to take your life in the next second. Let him go? Isn't it like letting the tiger return to the mountain?" Yi and Hong Yen fell into silence. Yi Hao glanced at the sky. It was already late. He said, "Okay, it's getting late. I have to hurry. You go to Tianyuan New City and find a person named Hu Sanyang. Take this jade pendant and tell her that Yi Sangao asked you to find her. She will know what to do after hearing it." "Where are you going?" "Qingshan Empire, Heavenly Street Conference." Just as Yi was about to say something, Yi Hao had already left. Hong Yen asked cautiously, "Sanyang, where are we going now? Are we really going to Tianyuan New City?" Yi responded and embarked on the journey. Hong Yen asked, "Yi, I don't think Brother Sangao is an ordinary person. Who is he?" Yi chuckled and said, "Yi Sangao? Sangao, Sangao, together they form the word Hao. He is the Emperor of Tianyuan Empire, Yi Hao." Hong Yen looked at Yi's smiling face with infatuation. As for what Yi said just now, he didn't hear a single word clearly. On the way, Yi Hao, who was empty-handed, picked a wild fruit out of boredom and nibbled it with relish. At this time, the system's familiar voice sounded in his mind. "I really don't understand. Why did you give the flood dragon to that woman? In this way, your mission failed and the reward is gone. Yi Hao said indifferently, if it's gone, then it's gone. I got a 5th level Spirit Emperor and a 3rd level Spirit Emperor. It doesn't seem like a loss. Isn't it just the woman who got the Dragon Ball? How could there be a 3rd level Spirit Emperor? What a braggart! The system said angrily. That's not necessarily true. Brother Hong San likes Yi so much. He might go to Tianyuan New City. That's why you didn't force Hong Yen. That's right. Yi Hao threw away the core of the fruit in his hand and said, just take it as a favor for Brother Hong San to help me several times. That's pretty good. The sky was dark. A group of rich men in luxurious clothes came to the lakeside where a fierce battle had just taken place. They were followed by a group of stooped old men. One of the stooped old men found Lin Ying's body on the shore and carried it back to the group of rich men. Then he said, Master, we found Master Lin Ying's body. One of the rich men, who was wearing a brocade robe and seemed to be the leader, said in disdain, bastards will always be bastards. They can't even handle a woman. What a waste. Where did those guys go? This way. The stooped old man pointed. Then the group of people walked on the mountain road that Yi Hao had just walked on. Chapter 1431. After Yi Hao completed the quest to kill the flood dragon, he was bored, so he entered the quest system to see if there were any other side quests. As he browsed through the quest list, he suddenly saw a quest to refine pills. He accepted it without hesitation. Ding dong, congratulations to host for accepting the quest to refine the 9 Heavens Fire Spirit Pill. Please complete it within 3 days or the quest will fail. Yi Hao looked at the pill recipe in his mind and smiled. System, refining pills shouldn't be that difficult, right? Master, don't look down on the 9 Heavens Fire Spirit Pill. The refining process is extremely difficult, the system reminded him after hearing Yi Hao's words. Yi Hao looked at the pill recipe and frowned. It seems the ingredients are a bit hard to find. Looks like I'll have to put in some effort. Master, there's a large city up ahead. You can go there and see if there's anything you need. Heh, that's exactly what I wanted. Yi Hao looked at the towering city in the distance, and a knowing smile appeared on his face. He said, System, can you help me check where I can find the pills I need in the city? Sorry, the level is too low. I can't complete the host's request. What a piece of trash. What did you say? It wasn't easy for a spirit to be born. I thought it would be useful, but it can't do anything. If it's not trash, then what is it? Yi Hao realized that sometimes the system needed to be stimulated. Isn't that because you're too weak? Otherwise, the entire Chaos Realm would be yours. Qingshan Empire, Celestial Cloud Pavilion Yuan Mu's courtyard, was much more deserted than usual. This was because of the new Celestial Cloud Pavilion's young pavilion master, Yuan Shu's orders. Not only did Yuan Shu withdraw all of Yuan Mu's guards, he also had banished Immortal bring 2 jars of good wine to visit Yuan Mu from time to time. Although it was called a visit, it was actually to monitor him. Today, as usual, banished Immortal brought 2 jars of good wine and walked into Yuan Mu's study without knocking. At this moment, Yuan Mu was teaching Mu Tao, the child beside him, how to write. When banished Immortal saw this scene, he couldn't help but laugh. Mu Tao, who was practicing her calligraphy, threw her brush aside and glared at banished Immortal. What are you laughing at? Banished Immortal casually found a place to sit down and place the wine on the wooden table. He calmly said, Ridiculous, truly ridiculous. A blind man has the nerve to teach others how to write. Can you see? Banished Immortal, shut up. Mu Tao angrily slammed the table. At the same time, she carefully looked at Yuan Mu. Seeing that there was nothing strange, she continued, I knew you wouldn't come with good intentions. My young master isn't feeling well today. You should leave quickly. Exiled Immortal sat on the chair and looked at the master and servant with a smile. He didn't say anything. Yuan Mu smiled indifferently and said, "Everyone is a guest. Mu Tao, don't be rude. Drink the tea." "Yes," Mu Tao replied obediently. Then, she went to fetch a pot of tea. Banished Immortal gently pushed the tea away and smiled. "Young Master Mu doesn't need to trouble himself. Young Master Shu ordered me to bring 2 pots of good wine for young Master Mu to taste." Yuan Mu calmly sat on the chair and said, "Thank you for your trouble, Lord Banished Immortal. I accept your kind intentions. If Lord Banished Immortal doesn't have anything else, I'm a bit tired and will go rest." Then, Mu Tao came to Yuan Mu's side. "Young Master Mu, wait." Banished Immortal interrupted them. He stood up and slammed the wine on the table in front of Yuan Mu. He said word by word, "Young Master Shu said that good wine should be tasted in time. Otherwise, it won't taste good anymore. Banished Immortal, you've gone too far." Mu Tao couldn't help but feel indignant for her young master. Banished Immortal ignored her and stared straight at Yuan Mu. Yuan Mu smiled indifferently and ordered, "Mu Tao, go fetch a wine cup." "Young master?" Mu Tao didn't move. She clearly didn't want to. "Mu Tao, you won't even listen to your young master? Go." "Yes, young master." Yuan Mu opened a jug of wine and smelled it. He praised, "It's indeed good wine." Then he poured a cup and drank it in one gulp. He gently placed the empty cup on the table and smiled. "I, Yuan Mu, have already drunk this wine. Lord Banished Immortal, you can go back and report." Banished Immortal didn't see anything strange. He waved his sleeve and said, "I've disturbed young Master Mu today. Goodbye." "Mu Tao, see the guest out." Mu Tao worriedly glanced at Yuan Mu. Seeing him wave his hand, she led Banished Immortal out of the courtyard. Just as Banished Immortal stepped out of the courtyard, Yuan Mu pointed his finger at his throat. "What?" He spat out the cup of wine he had just drunk. At that moment, a black figure wearing a bronze mask appeared in front of Yuan Mu. Yuan Mu asked in a normal tone, "Did you find out?" The black figure knelt on the ground and respectfully said, "I did. The Heavenly Street meeting was brought forward because of Yuan Shu's instigation." "I know. How is he?" "On the surface, we received news that he's still in New Tianyuan City. In reality, he's already left the city. If nothing unexpected happens, he'll appear in the Heavenly Street meeting in 3 months." "Anything else?" "Our people have been following him. He recently appeared in the Earth Lung Mountain Range and killed a flood dragon." "That's more like it." Hearing this, a smile appeared on Yuan Mu's pale face. He said, "Keep a close eye on him. Don't let anything unexpected happen." "Yes." "Young master, young master." At that moment, Mu Tao's voice came from outside the study, interrupting their conversation. Yuan Mu waved his hand and the figure quietly disappeared into the shadows in the corner of the room. Yuan Mu stopped smiling and asked, "What's wrong, Mu Tao?" Mu Tao hastily ran over and looked at the wine Yuan Mu just spat out. She felt relieved and said, "Banished Immortal's wine must be poisonous." Mu Tao was afraid something would happen to young master. "Don't worry. Aren't I fine?" "Young master, that Yuan Shu has gone too far. Do you plan on waiting for death?" "Come, Mu Tao. Today, I'll teach you a new character." Okay. Mu Tao sat on a chair in the study. Yuan Mu had Mu Tao hold the brush while he grabbed Mu Tao's hand and wrote the character Endure on a thin piece of paper. In Yuan Shu's study, Banished Immortal respectfully knelt on the ground. Yuan Shu played with the dagger in his hand and asked softly, "Did Yuan Mu drink the wine?" "He drank it. This little one saw it with my own eyes." "Very good." Yuan Shu stabbed the dagger into the table and sneered, "When Yuan Mu dies, I'll see who you old bastard will hand the position of Pavilion Master to. If you want to hand the Immortal Cloud Pavilion to that blind man, you'll have to see if the blade in my hand agrees." Chapter 1432. Lishan City. Yi Hao stood at the city gate and glanced at the 3 words hanging above the city gate before entering the city. Lishan City was the 3rd largest city in the Qinshan Empire. Entering this city meant that Yi Hao had entered the Qinshan Empire. Everyone said that the Qinshan Empire was built on top of Qinshan, but that was not accurate. To be precise, the Qinshan Empire's capital was built on top of Qinshan. As for the other cities, they were scattered all around Green Mountain. Otherwise, if news of a huge 5th-rank empire with only the size of Green Mountain spread out, it would be ridiculous. Although Lishan City was far from the Qinshan Empire's capital, the economic strength of this city had always been one of the best in the empire. In addition, when the city was first built, it occupied a vast area and had many people. It was located in a fortress, so it gradually developed into the 3rd largest city in the Qinshan Empire. After Yi Hao entered the city, he realized that the streets were filled with people. The hawkers were also grinning from ear to ear. Yi Hao found a hawker and asked for the location of the largest medicine shop in the city. Then, he rushed over. He had to refine the 9-fire heavenly spirit pill in 3 days. There was not much time left for him, so he could not afford to waste any time. Heaven's Medicine Pavilion. Yi Hao followed the hawker's directions and arrived at the entrance of the largest medicine shop in Lishan City. Just as he was about to enter, he was stopped by the guards at the entrance. "Wait, do you have an invitation?" "Invitation? What invitation?" Yi Hao looked at them suspiciously. "I'm going in to buy medicinal ingredient. Do I need an invitation?" "Ha ha ha, where did this country bumpkin come from?" Suddenly, there was a burst of mocking laughter behind Yi Hao. Yi Hao turned his head and saw a fat man, who was dressed in gold and silver and weighed more than 100 kilograms, walking past him with a dozen servants. When they passed by, they even pushed him directly. It could be said that they were extremely arrogant. When the 2 guards saw the fat man, they said flatteringly, "Young Master Yen, you're here. Please come in." Young Master Yen smiled in satisfaction. Then, he took out a handful of spirit stones from his robes and wantonly threw them at the 2 guards. The 2 guards were still smiling, as if they couldn't feel the slightest bit of pain. After the fatty had left, they still smiled and said, "Young Master Yen, are you leaving already? There's a little too little today. Why don't you have more?" "No, young master, I want to keep the money today. I have a big use for it." "All right, take care, young Master Yen." Yi Hao looked at this extremely comical and absurd scene, and he couldn't help but say coldly, "Wait, he doesn't seem to have an invitation token either." The 2 guards looked at him as if he was an idiot and mocked. "He's young Master Yen, the only son of Fortune God Yen of Lishan City. You're just a pauper from another city. How can you compare to young Master Yen?" "Shoo, shoo, shoo. I'm in a good mood today. I don't want to argue with a fool like you. Cram as far as you can." The 2 guards waved their hands at Yi Hao impatiently. Yi Hao clenched his right fist and was about to fly into a rage when a white figure flashed in front of him. The figure took out 2 black tokens and handed them to the guards, saying, "This brother is my friend. He's new here and doesn't know the rules. Please forgive him. This is an invitation." The 2 guards took the black tokens and looked at them carefully, saying, "So it's young Master Wu. Young Master Wu, we 2 brothers can trust you. But young Master Wu, this brother of yours isn't very reassuring." "I understand." The pale-faced scholar named young Master Wu took out a money pouch and stuffed it into the hands of the 2 guards. The 2 guards weighed the money pouch and said, "Young Master Wu is indeed generous. All right, let's go in." "Thank you." Young Master Wu clasped his hands, then pulled the stunned Yi Hao into Heaven's Medicine Pavilion. Yi Hao looked at the unfamiliar young Master Wu and asked, "Brother, we don't know each other. Why did you help me?" Young Master Wu gently smiled and replied, "I'm a person who likes to make friends. I saw that brother's temperament was extraordinary, and since you were in a hurry to enter Heaven's Medicine Pavilion, I figured you had something important to do. So I decided to help you. Right? Shouldn't you be thanking me? Why are you questioning me instead? Yi Hao laughed and clasped his hands, saying, Many thanks for young Master Wu's help. No need to be so formal. My name is Wu Wenyong. You can just call me Wenyong. That's what my brothers all call me. All right, I'm called Yi Sangao. My heart is higher than the heavens, and my life is higher than the mountains. That's why I'm higher than Songgao. Sangao, what a good name. As Yi Hao walked, he chatted with Wu Wenyong. But as he walked, he realized that something was amiss. Although the heavenly medicine pavilion was huge, they had not seen a single person after walking for so long. This could not help but be suspicious. Brother Wenyong, why haven't we seen a single person after walking for so long? Wu Wenyong was stunned. He held his forehead and said, Brother, you couldn't have just come to Lishan City today, right? That's right. No wonder you didn't know. Wu Wenyong paused for a moment, then said, Today is an important day for our Lishan City. Many nobles will come to Heaven's Medicine Pavilion, and Heaven's Medicine Pavilion's people have been sent out to serve those important people. Today's security is also much tighter, which is why you were stopped at the entrance. Oh, they're all gathered here. Are they all here to buy medicine? Yes and no. Yi Hao was even more confused. If they're not here to buy medicine, then what are they here for? Wu Wenyong smiled and kept him in suspense. I won't tell you for now. You'll naturally know when we get there. Yi Hao followed Wu Wenyong to Heaven's Medicine Pavilion's back courtyard with a stomach full of questions. It was just as Wu Wenyong said. Not only were there people guarding the back courtyard, there were also many guards patrolling everywhere. They were very cautious. Yi Hao carefully observed the strength of the guards and found that the weakest was a first-level spirit emperor. There were also quite a few second-level spirit emperors. He sighed in his heart, as expected of the third city of a fifth-rank empire. Even first-level spirit emperors, who are rarely seen, are willing to be guards. It seems like Heaven's Medicine Pavilion is very impressive in Lishan City. Brother Yi, this way. Wu Wenyong pulled Yi Hao, who was in a daze, and the two of them entered the back courtyard. After entering the back courtyard, the two of them were covered with a layer of blindfold. After being led by the servants in the back courtyard, they walked up a few flights of stairs and finally arrived at their destination, Heaven's Medicine Pavilion's underground auction black market. Wu Wenyong took 2 masks from the guards at the side. One was a fox mask for himself, and the other was a lion mask for Yi Hao. Yi Hao took the mask and put it on his face. He followed Wu Wenyong into the underground auction black market that the entire city was looking at. Chapter 1433. What made the underground black market different from other venues was that it had 3 rules. First, everyone who entered had to wear animal masks to cover their faces. These masks had been tampered with to prevent others from looking at them. This was also to make it easier for people to bid without worrying about the identity of the other party during the auction. Many times, some big families would use their identity to make others give up bidding so that they could get the auction items at a small price. The operation of the underground black market required a huge amount of money, so the owner of the underground black market came up with this trick to increase the competition among the people, so that the auction items could be sold at a price far higher than their actual value. Secondly, there were no private rooms in this underground black market auction. Everyone sat together, and no one was allowed to get special treatment. This was also the idea of the owner of the black market, to eliminate the status mentality among the people. This was because not only would many rich and powerful people enter the auction, there would also be many rogue cultivators, who were cultivators with no background. These rogue cultivators were not to be underestimated. Although they were not as rich as a country, they had many priceless rare treasures. Some time ago, when the final treasure of the underground auction came out, all the big families bid crazily. Just as they were about to get it, it was suddenly intercepted by a rogue cultivator who was only at the 3rd level of the spiritual emperor realm with a precious treasure. And bartering was the 3rd rule of the underground black market. Along the way, Wu Wenyong explained to Yi Hao in detail. Wu Wenyong led Yi Hao through the auction hall that could accommodate several thousand people with ease. It didn't take long for them to arrive at a corner of the auction hall. As soon as Wu Wenyong went over, several young people wearing masks surrounded him. Wu Wenyong, why are you so late? Yeah, we've been waiting for you for a long time. Hey, stop talking. The auction is about to start. Come over quickly. Wu Wenyong looked at his good friends in Lishan City and said with a smile, I was delayed on the way, so I'm late. Wu Wenyong explained to them, then led Yi Hao to a seat and introduced him to the crowd one by one. Yi Hao nodded at them as a form of greeting. He then asked, You just said that some of those people came here to buy medicinal herbs, while some didn't. I'm very curious about what kind of rare treasures this auction will have. Not just you, I'm also very curious. Wu Wenyong explained, this underground auction only auctions 10 items each time, and since it was held until now, it has never sold repeated items. Not to mention medicinal herbs, even many peerless weapons and superior cultivation techniques can be obtained. But there is one thing, they will only tell you the time of the auction, and will not tell you what items are to be sold. So many people actually come here to join in the fun. Are you here to join in the fun too? Yi Hao asked with a smile. Me? Wu Wenyong smiled and said, I'm here to keep an eye on Fatty Yen. Fatty Yen? Was that the fatty at the door who weighed more than 200 pounds? Why are you staring at him? It's a long story. Sure, the auction is about to begin. Just as Wu Wenyong was about to speak, he heard the sound of clanking from the auction stage. So he quickly shut his mouth and signaled Yi Hao to keep quiet as well. Yi Hao realized that they weren't the only ones who kept quiet. Everyone else did the same. The auction venue, which was very noisy just now, instantly quieted down. At the same time, 2 men wearing ox-head and horse-face masks appeared on the auction stage, one tall and one short. The short man wearing the ox-head mask cleared his throat and said, Hello everyone, I am Old Ox. Then the tall man said, Hello everyone, I am Old Ma. First of all, welcome to the underground auction venue. Okay. Everyone below the stage waved their hands and gave the warmest applause and enthusiasm. Old Ma continued, Ahem, quiet. I believe everyone can't wait any longer. I, Old Ma, am the same. Old Ox, take out the first item for auction today. Okay. Old Bull whistled. Immediately after, 2 guards in purple walked over with a palm-sized square box. Old Bull took the box and handed it to Horseface. Old Ma opened the box and revealed a piece of dried-up tree root. What is this? A piece of tree root? Shoo, don't talk nonsense. When has the auction ever taken out such an ordinary item? That's right. This looks like the spiritual dragon tree root. When the first item was taken out, it caused a huge uproar. At first, some people who didn't know the value of the item thought that it was just a piece of dried-up tree root. When someone recognized that it was the spiritual dragon tree root, they immediately changed their attitude. Their eyes lit up and they couldn't wait to bid for the tree root. Old Ma looked at the people below the stage with interest. When he felt that the atmosphere was just right, he said, That's right. This is the spiritual dragon tree root. The spiritual dragon tree root feeds on the essence of the sun and moon. After 1,000 years of tempering, not only does it contain strong spiritual energy of heaven and earth, but it is also an excellent choice for medicine and alchemy. Many alchemy masters choose to use the spiritual dragon tree root as a guiding ingredient or the main ingredient for alchemy. Our Heaven's Medicine Pavilion has searched for many years and only found this small piece. Therefore, the starting price of this 1,000-year-old spiritual dragon tree root is 100 million spirit coins. Everyone is welcome to bid. As soon as he finished speaking, The crowd below the stage immediately started to bid enthusiastically. I bid 150 million. Don't fight with me. A skinny man wearing a squirrel mask raised the bidding card in his hand. Cough, cough. An old man wearing a monkey mask who was coughing constantly said, "Do you think we won't bid just because you said so? Who do you think you are?" I bid 170 million. I bid 180 million. Another burly man wearing a hippo mask also raised the bidding card in his hand. 190 million. 210 million. 250 million. Not only these three people, but many more people also participated in the fierce bidding. The price of the 100-year-old spiritual dragon tree root continued to rise. Yi Hao looked at the bidding card in his hand. Just as he was about to raise it, he was stopped by Wu Wenyong. Wu Wenyong looked at him and said, "What are you doing? You want to bid?" "That's right," Yi Hao said. "I happen to be refining an alchemy pill. This spiritual dragon tree root happens to be something I need. I must get it." "You are an alchemy master?" "That's right." Chapter 1434. Why is that? I can bid for it myself. Wu Wenyong looked at the people around him and said, "Didn't I tell you the story of that rogue cultivator? Do you know what happened to him?" "What happened?" Yi Hao already had some guesses in his heart. "That's right. Although that itinerant cultivator managed to get the final treasure after exchanging for it, someone found his corpse in the moat the next day. You're new here. Even if you manage to get the dragon spirit tree root, you might end up like that itinerant cultivator. I'm different from you. My Wu family has some say in Black Mountain City. That's why I'm here to help you." Yi Hao thought about it carefully and said, "If that's the case, thank you, Brother Wu." "You're welcome." Wu Wenyong waved his hand gently, then raised the bidding card in his hand and said loudly, "I bid 500 million spiritual stones." Hearing that, the entire auction house quieted down. Those who were bidding were stunned. What the hell? They had just bid 300 million spiritual stones, and this guy had raised it by 200 million. How were they going to compete? Furthermore, no matter how powerful the spiritual dragon tree root was, it was not worth 500 million. At most, it would be 400 million. Hence, they all put down their bidding cards. In the end, Wu Wenyong won the 100-year-old spiritual dragon tree root with an overwhelming advantage. Wu Wenyong looked at Yi Hao proudly. "How is it? Once I make a move, it'll be as easy as pie." At that moment, Yi Hao suddenly looked at Wu Wenyong with a smile. Wu Wenyong suddenly had a bad feeling. Wu Wenyong silently put away his bidding card and looked at the smiling Yi Hao. He asked cautiously, "Why are you looking at me like that?" "Well," Yi Hao smiled awkwardly and said, "I left in a hurry and didn't bring enough spiritual stones. I'm still short of 100 million. Why don't you help me pay for it first? I'll definitely pay you back in the future." "I'm going to faint." Wu Wenyong held his forehead, regretting his previous bid. Yi Hao hurriedly said, "Brother Wu, don't worry. I Yi Sangao always keep my word. I will never go back on my words." At this moment, a guard in purple came to Wu Wenyong's side with a box in his hand. Wu Wenyong sighed deeply and said, "Fine, who asked me to meet you?" Wu Wenyong fished out a space ring and handed it to the purple-robed guard. The purple-robed guard carefully counted it. After confirming that the number was correct, he handed the box back to Wu Wenyong and stood up to leave. After the guard left, Yi Hao was just about to take the brocade box when Wu Wenyong put it away. Wu Wenyong looked serious and said, "Don't worry, the things here can't be faked. There are many people here. I'll give it to you when we get out." Yi Hao understood that he didn't want to be targeted, so he retracted his hand and sat down quietly. Not far from Wu Wenyong, there was a fat man wearing a Zhu Beiji mask sitting on a chair and drinking tea in big gulp. Beside him were more than 10 guards wearing wolf masks. One of the guards walked to his side and said, "Young master, the kid from the Wu family has made his move. Young Master Yen grunted and didn't take it to heart. His eyes were fixed on the auction stage, as if waiting for something. When Wu Wenyong's friends saw him bid for the dragon spirit tree root, they surrounded him and complimented him. Wu Wenyong didn't say anything and accepted it with a smile. However, Yi Hao, who was sitting beside him, could clearly feel that Wu Wenyong's heart wasn't here. To be precise, it wasn't at the auction. Instead, he was staring at young Master Yen, who was wearing a Zhu Beiji mask. Yi Hao quietly moved closer and asked, "Oh right, what's your beef with young Master Yen? I see that you're always staring at him." "Not really, just some grudges, that's all." "What grudges? Tell me." Wu Wenyong was feeling bored at the moment and simply said, "The richest people in Lishan City now are Yen Jinru and Yen Chiji. However, what no one knows is that Yen Jinru used to be my father's sworn brother and was also a shopkeeper under him. At that time, the richest family in Lishan City was our Wu family. Because Yen Jinru and my father were good friends, I played and learned with Yen Chiji, the fat man, since I was young. Slowly, our relationship got better and better. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that we were like brothers. But one day, Yen Jinru betrayed my father. He took his subordinates and some big clients and left the Wu family. He started his own business and often suppressed our Wu family's business, causing our Wu family's business to get worse and worse. By my generation, we were basically living off our old money. However, the Yen family's business got better and better. Slowly, they became the richest family in the entire Lishan city. Since then, Yen Chiji acted as if he didn't know me when he saw me. He became a completely different person. He used to be very thin, but I don't know why he got fatter and fatter. His temperament also became less gentle. I understand now. Yi Hao roughly understood the relationship and said, "You're here because of that fatty Yen sitting there. You want to avenge your family and disgust the Yen family." "That's right. No matter what fatty Yen wants to buy today, I will fight him to the death. But it seems that his family is rich and overbearing. You can't compete with them. Damn it, a camel is bigger than a horse." Wu Wenyong made up his mind and said, "I'm not being impulsive. Wu Wenyong of the Wu family wants to make a clean break with Yen Chiji of the Yen family." Yi Hao nodded and watched the auction quietly. Wu Wenyong also regained his rationality and sat on the chair in a daze. No one knew what he was thinking. At this time, a large iron cage covered with a red cloth was pushed out on the auction stage. Everyone's eyes were immediately attracted to it. Old Ma cleared his throat and said, "The first 9 auction items have all been sold. Only the last item is left. This auction item is a little different from the previous ones. The previous items were some treasures or cultivation method. They were all inanimate objects. However, today's item is a living object." As soon as Old Ma finished speaking, Old Nyo tore off the red cloth covering the iron cage. When the red cloth was lifted, the crowd discovered that there was a young girl in the cage. After attending so many auctions, this was the first time they saw a living object being auctioned. Therefore, everyone's interest was immediately piqued. However, when the crowd looked at the young girl in the cage, they couldn't move their eyes away. She had a tight figure, fair skin, peerless appearance, and those deep black eyes that contained a trace of fear. Looking at her from afar, she made people want to take pity on her. The peerless woman looked at the crowd, and the fear in her eyes gradually turned into anger. When the crowd below the stage saw the peerless woman's angry appearance, Horseface couldn't help but speak. The crowd had already begun to boil. Chapter 1435. I bid 500 million. This woman is mine. Why should I? I bid 550 million. I bid 600 million. No one can compete with me. Everyone started bidding, and the first bid was 500 million. Many of the rogue cultivators who were about to bid put down their paddles silently. So what if the woman was beautiful? She was not fated to be with poor people like them. The moment young Master Yen saw the woman, he was deeply mesmerized. The guards beside him had to shout a few times to wake him up. After young Master Yen woke up, he raised the paddle in his hand and bid 1 billion extravagantly. Everyone was speechless. Wu Wenyong swallowed his saliva and muttered, "So Fatty Yen is into this. But then again, such a beautiful woman is indeed rare." Wu Wenyong turned to look at Yi Hao beside him. He noticed that Yi Hao's eyes were clear and did not reveal the greed of the people around him. He felt that Yi Hao was looking at the woman in the cage with only admiration and not blasphemy. He nudged Yi Hao and asked, "Brother Yi, how about a bet?" Yi Hao said softly, "Didn't Yen Qiji bid 1 billion already? What are you waiting for?" "That's exactly what I wanted." Wu Wenyong rubbed his palms together. Yi Hao and the others were looking forward to seeing Wu Wenyong bid an extremely high price to overwhelm Fatty Yen. Wu Wenyong raised the paddle in his hand and shouted, "I bid 1 billion and 1 spiritual stones." Yi Hao wasn't the only one who was stunned. Even his friends were stunned. They didn't expect that young Master Wu, who was usually very generous, would only raise the price by 1 spirit stone. Wu Wenyong looked at the strange looks of the people around him and smiled. "Why are you all looking at me like that?" Yi Hao smiled at Wu Wenyong and said, "You only bid 1 spiritual stone? That's too cruel. Even if you want to be a prodigal, that's not the way to do it. I helped you fight for the dragon spirit tree root because I knew that no one would compete with me for 500 million. I'm a person who doesn't want trouble, so I directly block them. But this time, it's different. The opponent this time is not simple. Naturally, I have to be careful. Alright, you're still the best. That fatty must have been disgusted by you. However, please help me bid for this woman." Wu Wenyong looked at Yi Hao's serious face and said, "What do you mean by helping you get it? Could it be that you've taken a fancy to this woman?" Yi Hao's eyes were clear. He smiled and said, "I don't think so. I just feel that this girl is quite pitiful. Moreover, when I look at her, I feel that she is very familiar. No matter what the reason is, I must take this person away today." "Take him away? Then you have to be rich. That's why I asked for your help." "Alright, you already owe me once anyway, so it doesn't matter this time." Wu Wenyong paused for a moment and continued, "Moreover, Fatty Yen and I were originally going to settle things." On the other side, the guard said to Yen Qiji, who was wearing Zhu Beiji's mask, "Young master, the person who bid just now was Wu Wenyong." Yen Qiji was stunned when he heard this. Then, he sneered and said, "Wu Wenyong? Who the hell does he think he is? Does he think that his Wu family is still the Wu family from a few years ago? He really doesn't know what's good for him. Is he deliberately trying to disgust me by only adding 1 spiritual stone? Increase the price for me." "Yes." Hearing this, the guard raised the bidding card on the side and bid 50 billion. Wu Wenyong was not to be outdone. He bid 50 billion and 0.01. At this time, Yen Qiji stood up shakily from his seat and said angrily, "Wu Wenyong, are you crazy? Only increasing the price by 1 spiritual stone each time is not in line with your Wu family's style. If you don't have the guts, you'd better quit early and not waste my time." Wu Wenyong laughed and also stood up from his seat. He said, "Yen Qiji, who doesn't know that your Yen family is the richest family in Lishan City? However, I'm sorry, but I've taken a fancy to the woman in the cage." As soon as he said this, the crowd was in an uproar. It turned out that the 2 famous families of Lishan City were competing. No wonder he was so confident. Everyone also understood the meaning of Wu Wenyong's words. Even if you are Yen Qiji, the only son of the Yen family, you have to obediently give up the thing that I, Wu Wenyong, want. Yen Qiji naturally understood Wu Wenyong's meaning. He immediately decided not to argue with him. He would use his actions to prove who was the biggest tycoon in Lishan City. 1.01 billion. 1.01 1 billion. Wu Wenyong, do you dare to raise the bid by 1 spirit stone each time? It's a waste of time. Yen Qiji, just raise the bid. I, Wu Wenyong, will accompany you to the end. Okay, 2 billion. 1 billion. After that, the entire auction house of the underground black market was left with the sound of the two people constantly bidding. No one knew if the two of them were deliberately acting in a fit of pique or something else, but the price they shouted had already far exceeded the price of the item, but they still did not stop. On the stage, Old Ox and Old Horse were happy to see such a scene. The higher the price they shouted, the more the underground black market would naturally earn. As time passed, the two people shouted more and more cautiously. The guard looked at Yen Qiji, who clenched his fists in anger. Just as he was about to persuade him, Yen Qiji directly raised his card and said fiercely, I bid 5 billion spirit coins. Wu Wenyong laughed and said, Oh, why did young Master Yen take so long to bid? Don't tell me you're out of money? I bid 2,501,000. After Wu Wenyong shouted this, his palms were full of sweat. It was obvious that he was about to reach his limit. Young master, we can't raise the bid anymore. Just give it to Wu Wenyong. Yen Qiji grabbed the guard's lapel and pulled off the mask on his face, revealing a fierce look. He gritted his teeth and said, What did you say? Give it to him? Where will I put my face then? Young master, we've reached the limit. We can't raise the bid anymore. Yen Qiji's hand, which was tightly holding the guard's hand, loosened slightly. Obviously, he was also hesitating in his heart. Although their Yen family was not short of money, the family business had been expanding recently, and many places needed money. If his father knew that he had spent so much money to buy a woman, his butt would definitely bloom. At this time, Wu Wenyong sneered again. Young Master Yen, if you don't have enough money, go home and ask for more before coming back. If you really can't raise the bid higher than mine, then I'll take this woman away. The guard looked at Yen Qiji, whose face was livid, and suddenly had a plan in his heart. He whispered to Yen Qiji quietly. Yen Qiji listened to the guard's words, and his frowning eyebrows slowly relaxed. His complexion gradually improved. Young Master Wu is really rich and overbearing. Yen Qiji did not raise the price again. Instead, he said with a smile, I just don't know how long your Wu family's damned camel can last. The future is long. Let's wait and see. After that, Yen Qiji threw the mask in his hand to the ground and left angrily with the guard. Young Master Yen, you don't need to worry. You should be careful whether your Yen family's horse can be bigger than a camel. Wu Wenyong said with a smile as Yen Qiji left. Although Wu Wenyong had a smile on his face, his heart was bleeding. Yi Hao looked at Wu Wenyong and said softly, Don't worry. What you lost today, I will help you earn it back. Wu Wenyong smiled slyly. How can it be enough just to earn it back? Won't there be some interest? No problem. At this time, the guard in purple brought the girl in the cage to Wu Wenyong's side. Wu Wenyong looked at the hand of the guard in purple. He took out a spatial ring from his chest and handed it over. He said, Here, 2,500,001 spirit stones are all inside. The guard in purple took the ring, nodded, and left. At this point, the 1,356th auction in the underground black market had ended. Everyone left the Heaven's Medicine Pavilion one after another. On the stage, Old Ox and Old Horse watched Yi Hao and the other two leave before leaving the auction stage. After leaving the auction stage, the two of them came to a secret room hidden behind the auction house with ease. The two of them stood respectfully at the door and knocked. After getting permission, they walked in. The secret room was pitch black and nothing could be seen. After Oxhead and Horseface entered, they immediately knelt on the ground without saying a word. After a while, a young but dignified voice sounded in the room. How are things going? My lord, everything is going according to plan. Got it. You may leave. Yes. After that, Old ox and old horse respectfully left. Then, an unfamiliar voice sounded in the room. Do you want me to follow the princess? Be careful. Don't expose yourself unless absolutely necessary. Got it. Then, the whole room became completely silent. Chapter 1436. Yi Hao and the other two left Heaven's medicine pavilion. The beautiful woman who was bought by Wu Wenyong at a high price looked at him cautiously. Wu Wenyong smiled and shrugged. Don't look at me like that. It was this guy who wanted me to buy it. Every injustice has its perpetrator. You should go look for him. The beautiful woman turned to look at Yi Hao. Yi Hao looked at her cautious expression and smiled. Don't worry, I have no ill intentions towards you. I just feel that you are a little pitiful. I can't bear for you to fall into the hands of that fatty. The beautiful woman looked at Yi Hao's clear eyes and let down her guard. What's your name? I'm Bing Yi. Bing Yi. Yi Hao said carefully, good name. Your pupils are red? The beautiful woman called Bing Yi looked at Yi Hao and asked. You have red pupils? Wu Wenyong, who heard their conversation, also came over and said, I've been traveling with you for so long, but I didn't notice that you have red pupils. That's right. Yi Hao smiled. What's wrong? Is there a problem? Nothing, nothing. Wu Wenyong hurriedly shook his head and said, It's just a little rare. Yes, Bing Yi replied. Yi Hao looked at them strangely, but since they didn't want to talk about it, he didn't ask. At this moment, Wu Wenyong suggested, How about this, it's getting late. Why don't you all stay at my place for the night? If there's anything, we can talk about it tomorrow. Okay. Yi Hao owed Wu Wenyong a lot of favors and couldn't refuse. Moreover, the Wu family was a big family. Perhaps they could find the remaining medicinal ingredients through the Wu family. Bing Yi was bought by Yi Hao on behalf of Wu Wenyong. According to the rules, it belonged to Yi Hao. Naturally, there was no objection. Just as everyone was about to head to the Wu family, a fatty who weighed more than 100 kilograms appeared in front of them with a group of guards and servants at an untimely moment. Go? Where are you going? Why don't you stay at my Yen residence for a night? I guarantee that you'll never forget it. Wu Wenyong looked at Yen Qiji, who was blocking the way, and laughed angrily. Yen Qiji, what do you mean by this? You can't beat me in the auction, so you're playing dirty. Yen Qiji laughed. Can't compete with you? Tui. Others might not know the current situation of your Wu family, but do you think I don't know? It's just a family that's about to be destroyed. I, Yen Qiji, don't need to lower myself to compete with you. Fatty Yen, what nonsense are you talking about? You know better than me whether I'm talking nonsense or not. Yen Qiji put his hands on his hips and said arrogantly, Besides, even if I play dirty, so what? Can you beat me? Yen Qiji put his hands on his hip. The guards behind him stood in a row and looked at them arrogantly. Wu Wenyong felt the momentum of the guards. They were all first-level spirit emperors, and two of their leaders were second-level spirit emperors. Although he was the young master of the Wu family, his strength was not high. He was just a first-level spirit emperor. If they really fought, they really wouldn't have any advantage. Yen Qiji sneered and pushed away Wu Wenyong, who was clenching his fists. Wu Wenyong shouted, Fatty Yen, don't go too far. If you dare to touch me, my Wu family will not let you go. TSK. Yen Qiji sneered and walked past him. He came to Yi Hao's side and stretched out his big fat hand, wanting to touch Bingyi's tender face. Bingyi looked at Yen Qiji's fat palm, and her eyes couldn't hide the disgust in them. At the same time, she couldn't help but step back. Just as Yen Qiji was about to succeed, his palm stopped a few centimeters away from Bingyi's face. No matter how much strength he used, he couldn't move a step forward. Yen Qiji looked at Yi Hao, who was holding his hand, with disdain. Who was I? It turned out to be you, a country bumpkin. Hurry up and let me go, or I'll kill you in this alley today. Yi Hao's eyes turned cold, and he grabbed Yen Qiji's wrist harder. Yen Chiji only felt a pain in his wrist, and his whole face was distorted. Seeing this, the guards behind him hurriedly surrounded him. Wu Wenyong also stood in front of Yi Hao, not to be outdone. "Boy, let go of our young master, or you'll be in trouble today. Do you know who you've offended? That's the son of fortune god Yen. If you don't let go, you'll be dead." "That's right. Where did this arrogant brat come from? He even dares to offend the number one conglomerate in Lishan City. He's really reckless." Although Yen Chiji's wrist hurt, he still didn't forget his identity as the young master of the Yen family. He threatened, "You bastard, did you hear that? If you don't let go of my hand, I'll make your whole family die with you." Yi Hao's face turned cold and he let go of his hand. When Yen Chi saw that Yi Hao was so obedient, he was delighted in his heart. The group of guards were also immensely proud of themselves. Looking at Yi Hao's eyes, they also revealed a hint of disdain. But in the next second, Yen Chiji was kicked away by Yi Hao. He fell to the ground heavily like a cannonball that weighed more than 200 kilograms. Yi Hao shielded Bingyi behind him and said coldly, "Who do you think you are? How dare you touch my woman?" Bingyi was stunned at first, then she stretched out 2 fingers and pinched Yi Hao's back muscles. Yi Hao took a deep breath and stared at Bingyi fiercely. Bingyi wasn't afraid and stared straight at his red pupils. Wu Wenyong sighed and walked over. "Sigh, you two still have time to flirt. Now we can't leave." Yi Hao retracted his fierce gaze and said unceremoniously, "Brother Wu, do you think we can leave if I don't do this?" Wu Wenyong laughed, "That's true. Forget it, since things have come to this, let's leave quickly." "Want to run?" "No way. Surround them." One of the guards, who was a second-level spirit emperor, led a large number of guards to surround Yi Hao and the other 2. At this time, Yen Chiji, who was supported by others, walked over with a fierce face. His gloomy eyes looked back and forth between the 3 of them, and he said fiercely, "Originally, I only wanted to take that woman away, but now I've changed my mind. I want all 3 of your lives." "Fatty Yen, how dare you? See if I dare or not." Boom. More than a dozen spirit emperors' auras rose into the sky. Wu Wenyong looked angrily at Yen Chiji, who seemed to be winning. His face was livid and he clenched his fists. Yen Chiji glanced at the calm Yi Hao and said, "Brat, get your ass over here and kowtow to me a few times. Maybe I'll leave your corpse intact if I'm in a good mood. Otherwise, you'll die without a burial place." Yi Hao laughed coldly and said, "Just these pieces of trash want to keep this young master's life? Damn fat pig, aren't you thinking too highly of yourself?" Chapter 1437. You're courting death. Cripple him. Yen Chiji was so angry that he laughed and ordered the second-level Spirit Emperor Guard beside him to attack. "Brother Yi, be careful. That's a second-level Spirit Emperor." Wu Wenyong looked at a fast figure heading straight for Yi Hao and couldn't help but remind him. Yi Hao rushed over without saying a word. Bang! Everyone's vision blurred. They saw Yi Hao holding the second-level Spirit Emperor Guard by the neck and slamming him straight into the nearby wall. The whole wall directly exploded. The second-level Spirit Emperor Guard looked at Yi Hao in fear, as if he had seen a devil. He had the strength of a second-level Spirit Emperor, but this ordinary-looking young man in front of him could easily crush him. One could imagine how strong he was. "Cough, cough, spare me." The guard coughed up blood and was a little scared. His cultivation was not easy to come by. If he died like this, it would be a big loss. Yi Hao snorted coldly. With a little force in his palm, the guard's head tilted, and his whole body fell to the ground weakly. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for gaining experience points. Yi Hao turned around. Yen Chiji, Wu Wenyong, and the others were looking at him in shock, but the shock in the 2 was different. Yen Chiji and the others were shocked by Yi Hao's strength. He could easily crush a second-level Spirit Emperor. That shock was mixed with a little fear. Although Wu Wenyong was also shocked by Yi Hao's strength, his shock was mixed with more joy. Bing Yi, who was standing in the same place, didn't feel the slightest surprise. Instead, she carefully observed Yi Hao's every move. Yan Qiji pushed away the two people beside him and said angrily, "You can fight very well, right? Well, then I'll let you fight to your heart's content today. Go, whoever can kill him will be rewarded greatly." Originally, everyone was afraid of Yi Hao's strength and didn't dare to go forward. But after hearing Yan Qiji's words, they all went forward. Since ancient times, riches and honor were found in danger. Moreover, Yi Hao was only a second-level spirit emperor. With so many of us, we can definitely kill that kid. Yi Hao looked at the crowd swarming over and sneered, "A bunch of idiots." Soon after, he began to slaughter his way through the group of guards. No one was a match for him. It didn't take long for those who wanted to seek riches and honor in the midst of danger to lie quietly in pools of blood. Yi Hao wiped the blood off his hands and walked towards Yan Qiji with a smile. Yan Qiji's face was pale and trembling. Yan Qiji looked at Yi Hao's gentle smile, and there was an unspeakable fear in his heart. Yi Hao waved at Yan Qi. Yan Qi screamed as if he had seen a devil, turned around and ran away. Yi Hao shook his head helplessly and quickly rushed behind Yan Qiji. He grabbed Yan Qiji's head and slammed it heavily on the ground. Bang! Yan Qiji's head hit the ground so hard that some cracks appeared on the ground. Seeing stars, Yan Qiji, who was bleeding profusely, felt that he had one foot in the gates of hell. He couldn't help but say in a panic, You let me go. I'll give you anything you want." "Then if I want your life, will you give it to me?" As if struck by lightning, Yan Qiji hurriedly said, "No, you can't kill me. If you kill me, my father won't let you go." "How dare you threaten me?" Yi Hao sneered. He grabbed Yan Qiji's head and slammed it heavily on the ground. Then, like picking up a dead dog, he threw him directly into the corner of the wall. Yi Hao waved his right hand, and a long sword lying on the ground consciously came into his hand. Yan Qiji curled up in the corner and said hurriedly, "You can't kill me. You can't kill me." At this time, Yan Qiji no longer had the arrogance from before. Since his guards fell one by one in front of him, his heart had sunk to the bottom. He only wanted to live. Yi Hao came in front of him, but before he could do anything, another figure came in front of Yan Qiji faster than him. "Brother Yi, Yan Qiji can't die yet." Yi Hao looked at Wu Wenyong's serious appearance and silently put down the long sword in his hand. Yan Qiji saw this and laughed. "Ha ha, I told you, Yi, you can't kill me. Ha ha, you don't dare to kill me." Before his voice died away, a white light flashed. Wu Wenyong was shocked. Then, as if relieved of a burden, he revealed a knowing smile. "Ah, it hurts." Yan Qiji looked at the long sword inserted in his thigh. His face was pale and cold sweat flowed down. His hands held his trembling thigh, and his face became distorted again because of the pain. Yi Hao looked at Yan Qiji, whose leg was broken, and said faintly, "Don't think that I won't dare to do anything to you because I can't kill you for the time being. Breaking your leg is just to teach you a lesson. Remember, you still owe me a kowtow. Don't let me see you again." Then, Yi Hao and the other two left the alley, leaving Yan Qiji alone. His eyes were full of hatred, and he sat on the ground in extreme pain. Just as Yi Hao and the other two left, a group of people entered the city. That group of people was composed of two completely different kinds of people. One was a rich young master in brocade clothes, and the other was a stooped old servant. One of the rich young masters, who was the leader, wore a jade ring on his finger. He looked at the old servant beside him and asked, "Are you sure that guy entered the city?" "Yes, young master. We followed him all the way here. That guy must have entered the city." "Yes or no, we'll know if we ask around." One of the rich young masters with a zither on his back said, "Lin Ing, that trash, sent us a sound transmission before he died. He said that guy is called Yi San Gao. He seems to have a cultivation of the second-level Spirit Emperor, but his strength is no less than that of the fourth-level Spirit Emperor. We must not be careless. Humph. A rich young master with 3 ancient swords on his back said, "No matter who he is, he must die for daring to ruin our Yueluan Lin family's business." That's right. A rich young master with a wine jug, who was also the last rich young master in the group, raised his head and took a big gulp of wine. He said drunkenly, "No matter who he is, he must die for killing our Lin family's people. Even if he is an animal or a bastard, only our Lin family has the right to kill him. Others are not worthy." The stooped old servant hurriedly lowered his head, not daring to look at the 4 rich young masters in brocade clothes. The rich young master with the jade ring stretched and said, "That's right. Elder Lu, we'll leave this matter to you. We're going to have some fun. If there's anything, just send a sound transmission." Yes. Then, the 4 rich young masters led the group of servants to the city's most famous red light district. Although Lishan City was very big, the Wu Mansion was located in the center of the city. Therefore, Yi Hao and Wu Wenyong soon arrived at the Wu Mansion under Wu Wenyong's lead. After the 3 of them entered, they did not meet any servants along the way. Wu Wenyong found a room and arranged for them to stay. As soon as the 3 of them sat down, a guard in a blue robe with a long sword in his hand came over and whispered something in Wu Wenyong's ear. After hearing this, Wu Wenyong's expression turned serious. He stood up and said to Yi Hao, "Brother Yi, please wait a moment. There's an urgent matter at home that needs to be dealt with." Yi Hao waved his hand carelessly. "Go ahead. We'll wait for you here." "Okay, I'll be back soon." With that, Wu Wenyong left under the lead of the guard. Chapter 1438. Lishan City, Yen Residence. In the Yen Residence's main hall, a middle-aged man with graying temples looked at a fatty who weighed more than 200 kilograms sitting on a chair with a pained expression. The fatty looked at his crippled right leg angrily, and said to the middle-aged man angrily, "Father, you have to take revenge for me. Your son will become a cripple in the future. How can I take over the Yen family's huge business?" As the head of the Yen family and also Yen Qiji's father, Yen Jinru touched his son's chubby face and comforted him. "Qiji, don't worry. I've already sent people to refine medicinal pills. They will definitely cure your leg." "Really? Thank you, father." Yen Qiji's anger turned into joy and he no longer worried about his crippled leg. "Qiji, tell me the whole story in detail." "Yes, father." Afterward, Yen Qiji recounted the whole story with exaggerated details. After listening, Yen Jinru broke a corner of the tea table with a slap and said angrily, "Ignorant child, you've gone too far. You even dare to threaten to destroy my Yen family. You really don't know what death is." Yen Qiji looked at the furious Yen Jinru and was very satisfied. He smiled and said, "Father, look at what you're holding in your hand." "What?" Yen Jinru was stunned. He looked at his hand and realized that the corner of the tea table had been broken by him. He couldn't help but feel his heart ache. "Hiss, this is a tea table made of high-quality wood. It's worth a lot of spirit coins. How did I break it?" After feeling his heart ache for a while, Yen Jinru recovered and asked the housekeeper coldly, "How is it? Have you investigated the background of that guy called Yi Sangao?" "Master, I've investigated. Yi Sangao only came to Lishan City today." "Only came today?" Yen Jinru pondered carefully. "Then how did he get involved with the Wu family?" "It was at the entrance of the Heaven's Medicine Pavilion today. The 2 of them met. That Yi Sangao didn't have an invitation, but he wanted to enter. Coincidentally, Wu Wenyong arrived at that moment and helped him out." "That's right. It was Wu Wenyong who helped him get in." Yen Qiji, who was sitting at the side, immediately echoed. Then he seemed to think of something and said, "By the way, Wu Wenyong didn't buy that woman. He bought her for Yi Sangao." "Help Yi Sangao?" Yen Jinru became even more puzzled. "That's 5 billion spirit coins. They are neither relatives nor friends. Why would Wu Wenyong help him? I'm also very confused, the butler said respectfully. No, go and check again. Check carefully. You must confirm that there are no mistakes before you act. Yes. After the housekeeper left, Yen Chiji said with dissatisfaction, Dad, when will we find out? Maybe Yi Sangao will have run away. Run? Even if he does run, as long as the Wu clan doesn't run, it won't affect the overall situation. Father! That's enough. Yen Jinru said seriously, It's not easy for our Yen clan to get to where we are today. The higher your status, the more cautious you have to be. If you're not careful, the entire Yen clan will be smashed to pieces. Before you investigate clearly, you must not act rashly. Yes. Yen Chiji lowered his head reluctantly. Yen Jinru's brain worked quickly as he pondered carefully. His eyes, which had seen countless people, narrowed slightly as if he was waiting for a certain opportunity to give a fatal blow. Lishan City, Wu residence. Wu Wenyong followed the guard in front of him to a secluded courtyard. Before he walked in, he could already smell a pungent smell of medicine. After the guard brought Wu Wenyong to the door of the room, he stood still and motioned for Wu Wenyong to go in alone. Wu Wenyong gently knocked on the door and heard a weak voice coming from inside. Then, he walked in. After entering, Wu Wenyong walked quietly to the bed and knelt on the ground without saying a word. At this moment, a shriveled and skinny hand stretched out from the bed. Wu Wenyong saw this hand and hurriedly took it, holding it tightly in his palm. Cough cough. Wenyong, sit closer. Wu Wenyong heard the weak voice coming from behind the curtain and hurriedly sat by the bed. He leaned forward slightly and said, Father, Wenyong is here. Cough cough. I heard that you spent a lot of money at the auction and bought a woman back? Wu Wenyong looked through the curtain of the bed and saw the Wu clan head, who was getting thinner by the day. He was in the prime of his life, but could only rely on medicine to maintain his life like an old man. Wu Wenyong's eyes couldn't help but redden. He held back his tears and said, Father, your body is getting worse. The Wu clan head lying on the bed said weakly, Our Wu clan is no longer the same as before. I'll let it go this time, but you can't spend money so extravagantly in the future. Can you tell me why you bought that woman? Father, I hear that your voice is getting weaker and weaker. Did you take your medicine on time? The old man coughed dryly again and said as if he was discouraged, Forget it. My son has grown up and has his own ideas. I'm at ease now. Father, you must take care of your body. Just as Wu Wenyong was about to say a few more words, a light snoring sound came from behind the curtain. Wu Wenyong stretched out his tightly clenched hands and gently placed the old man's palm back. He then sat on the ground and said with a choked voice, Father, I've made a new friend. His name is Yi Sangao. He's an alchemist. With him, our Wu clan will definitely be more prosperous than it is now. Not long after, Wu Wenyong walked out of the room with a calm expression. He placed his hands behind his back and asked the blue-clothed guard beside him, Who leaked the news? Young master, it was the maidservant who was serving the master's medicine who accidentally leaked the news. Heh! Wu Wenyong sneered, accidentally? Spending a lot of money is something that only happened today. It hasn't spread throughout Lishan City yet. How would a mere maidservant know? Then what do you mean? Kill all of them. Don't leave a single one alive. Throw these corpses into the backyard of the Yen residence. Yes. The blue-clothed guard could not hide his excitement. He asked, Young master, are we preparing for war? Wu Wenyong's eyes were cold. He said calmly, It's just a matter of time. Inform everyone to get ready and wait for my orders. Yes. Wu Wenyong walked out of the courtyard and breathed in the fresh fragrance of the flowers. He patted his stiff face, and a smile appeared on his face. Then, he walked towards the room where Yi Hao and the other man were staying. In the room, Yi Hao sat on the bed and meditated. The beautiful Bing Yi peeked at him from time to time. Suddenly Yi Hao smiled and said, "You've seen it a few times. Have you seen enough?" Bingyi was not shy even though she was caught red-handed. She said directly, "I'm really curious why you have red pupils. Among all the people I've met, you're the second one with red pupils." "Oh, then who was the first one?" "The first one?" Bingyi was stunned. Then, she lowered her head. "He's dead." Chapter 1439. Bingyi closed her eyes tightly, as if she didn't want to recall the painful past. Yi Hao quickly changed the topic. "Oh right, how did you appear at the auction?" Bingyi recalled carefully. "I don't know how I was sent to the auction." Yi Hao held his forehead and asked, "What about your family? Did you get separated from them?" "No." Bingyi sighed deeply. And said, "I'm not from this empire. My home is very far away in the east. It's like spring all year round there. It's very prosperous. But one day war broke out. My parents sent me away temporarily. After that, I came here. I don't remember what happened after that." "Don't remember?" Yi Hao asked curiously. "Don't tell me you lost your memory?" "Lost my memory?" Bingyi was puzzled. Suddenly, her head felt like it was hit by a hammer. It was extremely painful. She grabbed her head and curled up on the ground in pain. She didn't dare to make a sound. Yi Hao quickly carried her up and placed her on the bed. Not long after, Bingyi's painful expression slowly relaxed. She fell into a coma. Yi Hao felt her pulse. There was no problem. Only then did he relax. Bingyi had just fallen into a coma when Wu Wenyong walked in with a bright face. Wu Wenyong looked around and asked, "Where's Bingyi?" "She's a little tired. She slept first." "That's good. I have something to discuss with you." Hence, the two of them changed rooms. Wu Wenyong ordered the servants to prepare a table full of dishes and 2 pots of good wine. After they sat down, Wu Wenyong poured a cup of wine for Yi Hao and asked, "Brother, are you really an alchemist?" Yi Hao patted his chest and said, "Of course." "That's good. Brother, I have a request." As he spoke, Wu Wenyong directly knelt on the ground. Yi Hao hurriedly helped him up. "Brother Wu, let's talk nicely. What are you doing? Get up quickly." "No, I won't get up if you don't promise me," Wu Wenyong said shamelessly. Yi Hao thought that Wu Wenyong had indeed helped him a lot, and the dragon spirit tree root was still with him. If he didn't agree, he might not be able to get it. So he might as well agree first. Even if he couldn't do it, it would be Wu Wenyong who agreed, not Yi Hao. Okay, I promise you. Get up and talk." Good brother. Here's a toast to you." Wu Wenyong got up and drank the wine in one gulp. "Can you tell me what it is now?" Wu Wenyong straightened his face and said solemnly, "This matter is actually very simple for you. You just have to become my Wu family's alchemist." "Alchemist?" Yi Hao shook his head and said, "Brother Wu, I'm used to being free and unfettered. I don't like being tied down, so I can't agree." "No, you've misunderstood. When I said I want you to become my Wu family's alchemist, I meant to refine pills for my Wu family. I don't mean to tie you down." Wu Wenyong paused, then said, "I know you have great ambitions, and I definitely won't do something like keeping you trapped in Lishan City. I want you to represent my Wu family in the Alchemist Conference in half a month." Alchemist Assembly? Yi Hao seemed to have seen these words somewhere before, and felt that they were somewhat familiar. That's right. To be honest, our Wu family started off with herbs and pills. Later on, our Wu family became one of the richest families in Lishan City because of pills. However, ever since the Yen family's father and son betrayed our Wu family, they kept offering high prices to recruit our Wu family's alchemists. Over time, our Wu family's alchemist business plummeted. And the Alchemist Conference in half a month is a grand event for our Lishan City. As long as you can represent our Wu family and win the championship, I believe that those alchemists who didn't trust our Wu family and betrayed us before will return to our Wu family. Our Wu family's alchemist business will soar again. And in this half a month, our Wu family will provide you with unconditional help. As long as you ask, no matter how expensive the herbs are, I can get them for you. Yi Hao listened to Wu Wenyong's explanation while looking through the system's side missions. As expected, he found the mission to win the championship of the Alchemist Conference. Yi Hao looked at the mission and muttered to himself, I knew it. It sounds familiar. It really does exist. Brother Yi, what do you think? Wu Wenyong looked at Yi Hao eagerly. Yi Hao pondered for a moment and felt that there was no harm in it. He could refine pills and complete the mission. It was a good deal, so he said, Brother Wu has taken care of me a lot. I'll definitely help you with this small favor. Thank you, brother. Brother Wu, you don't have to be so polite. This is a small matter between friends. Good. Brother Yi, come, let's drink. After the banquet ended, Yi Hao didn't go to sleep early. Instead, he asked for the dragon spirit tree root and other herbs from Wu Wenyong. He was going to start refining the 9 Heavens Fire Spirit pill tonight. Yi Hao asked Wu Wenyong for an alchemy room. After sitting down cross-legged, he took out all the herbs from his spatial ring and threw them into the cauldron one by one according to the order of the pill formula. After the herbs entered the cauldron, they quickly disappeared and turned into rich heaven and earth spirit qi that kept swirling in the cauldron. Not far away, a pale-faced scholar sat quietly at the door with a jar of wine in his hand. The pale-faced scholar looked at Yi Hao's skillful alchemy and couldn't help but be a little surprised. Although Yi Sangao said that he was an alchemist, he didn't see it with his own eyes. He still didn't want to believe it. Moreover, the 9 Heavens Fire Spirit pill was not an ordinary pill. If one didn't have the strength of a 4th-grade alchemist, it was impossible to successfully refine it. A 4th-grade alchemist? One had to know that there were only 3 such alchemists in the entire Lishan city, and most of them were old men in their 60s. He really hadn't seen a 4th-grade alchemist as young as Yi Hao. That was why he came to the alchemy room tonight to check it out. Yi Hao didn't have any other thoughts. He threw one pill after another into the cauldron. When only the dragon spirit tree root was left in his hand, he stopped and quietly looked at the flames in the cauldron. Yi Hao felt that the temperature of the flames wasn't high enough, so he used his spirit qi to increase the temperature of the cauldron. Not far away, the pale-faced scholar Wu Wenyong saw this scene and smiled faintly. He murmured, Spirit Qi Fire Guide. If you're not a 4th-grade alchemist, you really can't do this. Interesting. However, he then saw an even more shocking scene. He saw Yi Hao throw all the dragon spirit tree root in his hand into the cauldron. Wu Wenyong threw away the wine bottle in his hand and shouted without caring about his image, Damn, do you think the dragon spirit tree root was given for free? Throwing the whole thing in, what a waste! Chapter 1440. Yi Hao, who was fully immersed in the process, did not hear Wu Wenyong's complaints. With a wave of his right hand, the 100 sets of herbs that he had prepared in his interspatial ring all flew into the furnace. Wu Wenyong was even more dumbfounded when he saw this scene. With a pained expression, he said, What kind of operation is this? He hasn't even refined a single 9 Heavens Fire Spirit pill, and he dares to refine 100 sets of pills at once. This guy is playing with me. After Yi Hao threw the 100 sets of herbs and an entire section of spiritual dragon tree root that he had bought at the auction into the furnace, he began to use spirit energy in his hands to slowly guide the flames around the furnace. Unknowingly, 6 hours passed. During the entire process of Yi Hao refining pills, Wu Wenyong did not leave at all. It was not that he did not want to leave, but he wanted to see if Yi Hao could succeed. After all, it was related to the alchemy conference half a month later. He could not afford to be careless. After 6 hours, Wu Wenyong could see that Yi Hao's alchemy skills were at least at the level of a level 4 alchemist. Not to mention his skillful technique, just the boldness to refine 100 sets of pills at once was enough. If he was not very confident, how would he dare to do it? After all, these herbs were very precious. Moreover, Wu Wenyong could not see any nervousness that belonged to someone of his age from Yi Hao's expression. Boom! A roar came from within the furnace. Wu Wenyong narrowed his eyes and muttered, "It's here." Yi Hao put down his raised arms and let out a long breath. He stood up silently and opened the lid of the furnace. Ding dong! Congratulations to host for completing the mission of refining 9 Heavens Fire Spirit Pill. Reward: 1,000 mission tokens and 1 summoning token. Yi Hao accepted the reward silently. Wu Wenyong narrowed his eyes and stared at the furnace. He did not dare to blink. After Yi Hao opened the lid of the furnace, he did not rush to take out the pills. Instead, he smiled and said, "Wu Wenyong, aren't you tired after standing there for so long? Why don't you come closer and take a closer look?" Wu Wenyong curled his lips and walked to the front of the pill furnace. But after taking a glance at it, he couldn't move his eyes away. At this moment, inside the alchemy furnace, there were 100 pills that were emitting red light. There were also dozens of pills that were mixed with traces of golden light, which was obviously a symbol of perfect quality. "Brother, you're amazing. You actually managed to refine all 100 pills. This is all thanks to the dragon spirit tree root that you helped me bid for." Yi Hao waved his hand and the pills in the furnace entered Yi Hao's interspatial ring one after another. Yi Hao took out a perfect quality 9 Heavens Fire Spirit Dan and handed it over to Wu Wenyong, saying, "If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have been able to refine so many pills. I'll give this pill to you as a small thank you gift." "How can I accept that?" Wu Wenyong's eyes lit up as he stared at the pill in Yi Hao's hand. His cultivation had always been his weakness. No matter how hard he tried, his cultivation couldn't increase. However, with this 9 Heavens Fire Spirit Pill, his cultivation could at least increase by 2 levels. "You don't want it? If you don't want it, I'll throw it away." "I want it." Wu Wenyong snatched the pill from Yi Hao's hand and said with a smile, "Wouldn't it be a pity to throw away such a good thing?" Wu Wenyong looked at it carefully. It was indeed a perfect quality 9 Heavens Fire Spirit Pill. Then, he carefully put it away and said with a smile, "Brother Sangao, you really don't show your true colors. Speaking of which, to refine 100 pills at the same time, and to refine all of them, your alchemy skills should be at the level of a 4th-grade alchemist." "4th-grade alchemist?" Yi Hao asked doubtfully. "Alchemists are divided into grades." Wu Wenyong sighed and said, "You don't even know the grades of alchemists? Which empire are you from?" "I'm from the Tianyuan Empire." "No wonder you don't know." Wu Wenyong revealed a look of sudden realization and explained, "The grades of alchemists in our ancient devil domain are determined by the 6th-grade empire, the Danzong Empire. Because the Tianyuan Empire has just been established and is developing rapidly, the Danzong Empire didn't have time to establish a branch in the Tianyuan Empire. Therefore, it's normal that you don't know about it. The grades of alchemists in the entire ancient devil domain are determined by the people of the Danzong Empire?" "That's right, our ancient devil domain has 3 great 6th-grade empires, and the entire ancient devil domain is divided into 3 different factions around these 3 great 6th-grade empires. Among them, the 6th-grade empire White God Empire and some of his subordinate empires are a large faction, located in the west of the ancient devil domain, while the 6th-grade empire Tsonger Empire and some of his subordinate empires are another large faction, located in the east of the ancient devil domain. The Danzong Empire and some of his subordinate empires are another large faction, located in the south of the ancient devil domain. However, although this Danzong Empire does not have a Spirit Heaven Emperor realm expert overseeing it, there is a 6th-grade alchemist. So many empires are willing to befriend him, or even become his vassal. After all, no one is willing to offend the only 6th-grade alchemist in the ancient devil domain. Therefore, the Danzong Empire has branches in many empires. One is to rate the alchemist in the world, and the other is to take in all the young talents in the world. Hearing this, Yi Hao roughly understood, so he asked, "Then what do you mean by subordinate empires?" This is not difficult to understand. The strength of a 6th-grade empire is much higher than that of a 5th-grade empire, so every time a new 5th-grade empire is established, the 6th-grade empire will send people to make the 5th-grade empire a vassal, paying tribute every year, and the 6th-grade empire will also ensure his safety, so other empires will not dare to attack him. Wu Wenyong thought for a moment, then continued. Our Qingshan Empire, Raging Flame Empire, and Full Moon Empire, these 3 great 5th-grade empires are all vassal states of the Tsonger Empire, and under these 3 great 5th-grade empires, there are many 4th-grade vassal states, and so on. Do you understand? Yi Hao nodded. I roughly understand. Then wouldn't our Tianyuan Empire also become a vassal state of others? Of course, this is the rule of the ancient devil domain. Your Tianyuan Empire will not be able to escape. Yi Hao suddenly became a little anxious, secretly calculating in his heart. Wu Wenyong continued, but you don't have to worry, bowing down is better than losing your empire. Moreover, the Heavenly Street Convention is just around the corner, and after this convention, there should be a 5th-grade empire coming to your Tianyuan Empire to recruit. Wu Wenyong's words gave Yi Hao a reassurance, and at the same time, it also made Yi Hao feel a deep pressure. Brother Wu, I'm a little tired, I'll go back first. Okay, if you need anything in the next few days, just let me know. Okay, sure. After separating from Wu Wenyong, Yi Hao returned to his room and sat cross-legged on the bed. He took out a perfect quality 9 Heavens Fire Spirit Pill, took it, and began to break through to the 4th level of the Spirit Emperor realm. It was useless to think too much, the most important thing was to make himself stronger, so that he could protect the Tianyuan Empire. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.